2023. Commissioner Banks is present. Commissioner DeVito is present. Charles Rudd, City Manager, is present. Christina, CRA Director, is present. Pam Taylor is present. She's our code enforcement. And by the way, happy birthday, Pam.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Banks, if you would lead us in invocation, please stand if you're able.
Father, dear gracious God, we thank you for our life and our strength. We continuously pray for our community, the citizens therein, and the commission. Give us harmony to be together. We ask this in your son Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, everyone, thank you for coming today. With that, Charles, I'm going to let you go ahead and get us started.
Okay. So what we're gonna do today is work through, this is what a competitive grant process can look like. We have 10 applications, but review them all at once, it becomes a lot of material. Try to decide if you want to fund them, which ones you want to fund, how much you want to fund, and so forth. So I put together a list of recommendations just to help work us through it, but certainly the commission, the CRA board rather can decide not to fund any of them, a portion of them, all of them, it's up to you. The limitation would be, we have approximately, I said $47,000 to $52,000 in the grant line of the budget. I can adjust the budget. I've been waiting to print out the final spreadsheet till you guys decide how much you want to fund, how much I put in that grant line in the CRA budget, the central CRA. We did get one application from the North CRA, which I have on the slide, recommended funding that one for the little pharmacy and medical building in the North CRA to paint that building. And so what we'll do is I'll go through the slideshow, we'll talk about the requests and answer questions, and then I prepared a spreadsheet I'll put up that we can actually tweak the numbers and then have it add up for us. So we have an idea what to put into the budget for adoption on the 14th. So this was the only application from the North CRA to clean and paint this building. The bids came in, the bid we selected was $6,750. And because this is the only one up there, and I think this will make a big improvement, we're recommending funding this at 100%. This is where our pharmacy
We want to do this as we go through today. Commissioners, do y'all want to ask questions as each one is discussed, or do you want to at the end?
Well, since this is the only one for the North CRA, does it make sense to ask any questions that we have about this particular one?
That's your problem, whether or not you want to ask a question or not.
Okay, well, I have a question.
Okay.
So there you want me to go ahead?
Yeah.
Okay. So my question about this one, and well, I have two questions about the North CRA. First of all, we had voted previously to fund the putting in a gas line to the location on Crescent Lake.
Yes.
That's going to be a restaurant. So I'm assuming that the North CRA budget, you've got that reflected.
Yes.
Okay, so there's $10,000, that falls within this grant program in some way, shape, or form, or is that separate?
Well, we paid for that in the current fiscal year, so this is what we're deciding today is next year's grant amount, which we have, I believe, about $70,000. But that's very flexible
Okay.
to each
But, so we paid for that already, because I thought we voted to wait till he had a certificate of occupancy.
No, but he'll have to pay us back if he does not get a certificate of occupancy. We had to pay the vendor.
Well, anyway, that's a different topic. So my only concern about this is, it's an operating business, it's not really blight. And for some of these properties, it's my understanding that we want to incentivize, but to me, some of this is really almost in the nature of a subsidy. I mean, this business has been there for years, and given, I don't know why nobody else in the North CRA applied. In a way, this is more in the nature of what we used to do for the facade grant. So, it's not that there's not money to do it. I'm just a little bit worried about letting people feel like they can not paint their building if they're in the CRA, and then we'll do it. And that's just my observation on that.
Well, this building is, mildewing, molding, it's, in my opinion, it's visually blighted. We did actually approach this property owner and urge him to apply, encourage him to apply. I think it's a big difference. It's so visible on the highway, so.
I believe this building, probably after January, could become a very important building.
Yes, I thought about that.
So that's, but that's a tenant, this is the owner that's requesting this. So the pharmacy's a tenant, not the, they're not the owner.
So this is an easy beautification and facade improvement for the North CRA. I think it's going to be a good win for us.
And it might encourage others in that North CRA, when they see that happening,
Exactly.
that this is something that they might want to start looking at.
And this is gonna form of a grant, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any other questions on this one?
Karen, if you would know, Commissioner Burton.
Mr. Burr, this is the sole applicant in the North CRA. Just talking about cleaning and painting this building. The pharmacy and doctor's office. So getting into the central CRA, this is 11 North Lake Street apartment building. Have a variety, there's probably in your way. To see this, I'm going to have a copy of the slide in your packet. So there were several components of this. Replace the gutters, a little over $3,000. What I'm calling hardscape, which would be white rock mortar, painting. There are pictures in your packet. Painting patio floors with a non-slippery type of paint. There's parking lot expansion, which would be to extend the parking lot through this area, this grassy area, about $4,500. And then there was an option to replace all the windows. It was request at a little more than $26,000, or just one side at about $5,000. What we're recommending, and again, we received about $250,000 worth of requests for about $50,000 available. So trying to figure out a way we could get some work done, incentivize some work, and some things we just wouldn't be able to do. So we're recommending 100% of the parking lot expansion, which will address getting more of these cars off the street, parking on site on property, and then offering a matching grant for the gutters and the hardscaping, which would be the beautification of the property. The windows, something you could add, we'll put the spreadsheet up there, but that, especially all the windows, was a big bite, was half the money we had available. So that's my recommendation on this project.
And this would be in the CRA grant, this would not be in the ARPA funds.
Correct, this is the CRA grant.
Do we want to make a distinction as to why some are and some aren't?
Well, you'll see the last few, I put the ARPA ones at the end, they're commercial typically, because we put that money aside for economic development. So I'll just
Do
continue.
we have any questions on 11 North Lake?
I do have a question for the city manager, and then at some point I have a question for the applicant.
Okay.
I don't know when we want to take those, but so 11 North Lake, I looked on the list, we had a list of targeted buildings, and it does not seem to be one of the targeted buildings. Okay, and then, my question, you might be able to answer this, or maybe Christina. Is this building currently rented?
Yes,
Okay,
and fully occupied.
Yes, sir.
Yes, fully occupied.
and it's got 8 units?
Or,
Four.
you live in one of those, correct? Yes, you occupy one, okay.
Okay, and then actually I had a question about, the parking lot expansion, when I looked at the pictures,
Mhm.
it looks like quite a bit of pavement is being added, and it's on a slope. It looks like the new pavement goes right up, to the building. But I'm a little bit nervous about, the water flow there. It looks like, unless you put in a French drain, you're gonna have water maybe pooling right up beside the building.
Did you come on the line?
Sure.
This is the applicant.
Can you, clarify what you mean with that?
Is it
'Cause I can
just-
show you.
Is it paving this area essentially?
Well, and
So what is happening is we only have room for one car per unit, and extending this way, there is gonna be some room here.
Right,
Extending this, making 2 extra parking spaces will allow each unit to have the ability to have 2 cars. For, families to have, 2 cars. But yes, this is gonna be up to here, and so then with the landscaping, the goal was to not only have this with the parking extension,
Right.
but when they put rocks here,
right,
allowing for that extra space of maneuvering, so that when they back in, they try to turn around, because it is tight.
right,
They're not going over the grass, they're not bringing mud here and there. And the other issue is, like you mentioned, the water irrigation, the rocks will also help that.
Be pervious.
Yeah.
Because this corner right here,
Drainage.
all the dirt, and I have videos if you like me to show you, all the dirt is coming into this side and accumulating mountainous dirt here, preventing the water from flowing all the way down the building and creating a flood here.
There was another picture that seemed to show pavement being added right up next to the building.
No, where the building lies, around the building would just be rocks.
Okay, so no pavement added up to the building, and
Yeah.
is it possible that people can just park on that grass without paving it? People do that all over town.
On here,
Yeah,
I mean, they can, but there's a pole there in the way, so I don't know if, one car can fit there, but I don't believe 2 cars can fit there.
but so if you pave it, what's gonna happen to the pole?
They're gonna be removing that.
Okay, but you could just remove the pole.
I could, I don't know how that is inserted
It's a
into
better
the
look.
ground.
Concrete.
I think they insert it with concrete or something like that, but, yeah, that's another option. The other option would be to put rocks all in here rather than the concrete. Either way, it needs to be irrigated somehow so that the water flows better, whether it's concrete or rocks.
I don't think you mean irrigated, I think you mean drainage. Is that not right?
So the water irrigates down, it goes.
That's that irrigation, that's when you water plants.
She wants the water to flow. She wants the water to
Yeah,
flow.
we're talking about drainage.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's this one. Okay, I think I understand, yeah, okay. Thank
So
you.
that was the purpose of adding the rocks and putting the extra, pieces right there.
Vivian, how many, right now do you currently have of your, with the cars? I know there's at least one that parks on the road, that has to park on the road.
There's 2 that park
Two
on
that
the
park on the road.
Mhm. 2 of the pickup trucks, 2 of my tenants, there's 2 families, each one of them have a pickup, and they park on the road. And then one of my units, including myself, we only have 1 car. So that's how.
And so that would allow those 2 to park in the parking space.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
Do we have any other questions, Vivian?
Thank you.
Commissioner DeVito? You
No,
good
thank you.
Okay,
Can I
thank you.
also add something really
Yes,
quick?
ma'am, if you'll go to the podium, please.
I can also, pull back the windows for now until next year. Like I said, the most important thing to me is that water flow there and the parking space, and the gutters, because there's like live forest growing inside the gutters. But the windows, I can definitely pull them back and we can do it next year or some other time.
Okay.
It's not urgent, so thank
Thank
you.
you.
Appreciate it.
The next property is 334 Central. This is a targeted building. It's a historic structure. This is the applicant requesting wood rot repair and paint the building. There are a lot of pictures in your packet about the instances of wood rot on the siding. This project is $7,800, and we are recommending 100% funding for this project. Any questions on 334 Central?
I have a
That's
question.
on
Yes, Commissioner Banks, that's
the address side, the corner building there.
right here, yes, on the other side.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
So my question is, what use is this building put to? Is it occupied, commercial? or-
It is. It has an apartment and an office. It's actually the reverse. The office is upstairs and the apartment is downstairs.
Okay, so it's occupied.
Yes.
Okay, I mean, is it fully occupied or just partially occupied? I mean,
It's fully,
fully,
yeah, you have the business upstairs, and she currently has a tenant downstairs. But my understanding, is she gonna continue that? Christina, can you speak to that, please?
So, the property owner, Doug, has informed me that she has a full-time tenant downstairs, and they did renew his lease. They're very happy with him, so he will be a long-term tenant. Upstairs, they have an office. Those tenants are gonna be leaving in December, so she being the property owner is hoping to relet that once those, the current occupants leave.
Is she looking to keep that commercial upstairs?
Yes, yeah, it'll be office. There's no kitchen up there, so, or a shower, so it wouldn't be for residential, it's strictly business.
Commissioner DeVito, you have any other questions?
no, that's fine.
Anybody else? Commissioner Banks, Commissioner Burton? Okay.
This is 21 North Main Street. This application was for a roof replacement, cost of $24,250. This building, I don't believe would be occupiable with the new roof put on, but we did recommend if you were to fund this, to request a match, a 50% match. Any questions on this property?
I have an observation. I have the list of the properties in our historic district that are contributing structures. And I believe this is one.
It is.
Yeah, BJ Lori is confirming that. So, you know, on the one hand, I have a concern that, as you pointed out, that we wouldn't really be able to occupy it.
We still need work, I believe.
Right, but obviously, one of the first steps to preserving a building, and it is one of our historic structures, it's listed as frame vernacular.
Mhm.
So I am assuming it was one of the more modest homes, in that particular area at one time. Do you know if the owner has any additional plans to renovate it?
I don't know personally. She may be able to make it. She was gonna try to come on her lunch. I don't know if she'll be here. I don't know what the plans are for the building.
Okay, but it is one of our contributing structures. Okay, thank you.
Similarly, this is 40 Grand Rondo. This application had both a roof replacement. This is a vacant structure where the roof has collapsed. I think it's a duplex. And a total remodel, one estimate for that at $57,900. So what we're recommending, if you were to fund this, that it would be, again, a 50% roof match, which would, again, would just be a first step securing this from the weather. Do not believe this will be a contributing structure.
No, I looked it up, if that's okay, with you. It is not.
This, I imagine, it's extensive damage. It's been raining in there for a very long time.
Yeah, no.
So that's why, I mean, with a remodel of 57,000,
I question that. Number seems pretty low for a complete remodel.
it just, yeah, other even looking at doing a bathroom, it's in a kitchen, I mean, that's, and with all the work that needs to be done in there.
So my recommendation, if you were to fund it, would be to on the roof portion of that request at 50%.
Do we know what her intentions are with the property, what she plans to do with the property?
Do not, other than what was said back when we were having that issue, this property actually had, just the one with the lien on it?
This was code.
Oh, it does not have a lien on it. Back when we were addressing that issue, there was talk about a desire to keep it and use it for residential purposes. I don't know if that's changed or not, I couldn't speak for them.
Mayor, I have a comment about this housing. My concern with this structure is that if we provide money for the roof, it's not a contributing structure to the historic district, and as, you just said, it seems like the estimate to renovate it seems very low. I don't think it even includes air conditioning on that estimate.
I don't think so.
It didn't, and I really question unless the owner can show us that they have a plan in place where they could really renovate it. If we provide $12,000 and they really aren't able to go anywhere with it, I just don't know that that's a wise use of $12,000 for a place that really, it seems like it needs more of a plan.
I would like to see, I would like to see a plan. I mean, there's a lot of things that she probably could do with that property. And I know she wants to keep it in her family's ownership. I think it's been in the family for many years. But I think that, a plan, now has she agreed that if there was a 50% match, that they were able to match the additional?
I did not receive confirmation from her on that,
But,
but she's aware.
Okay,
well, how is that, okay, if we get a grant to fix a certain portion, how much more long they got before they can fix the other portion and put it back on the tax roll? I think that's something that we need to be thinking about.
And a timeline,
Yeah, the timeline, because you just don't wanna, I'm just using this now, $25,000 to put a roof on, and
it sits for 10
the
years.
next 20 years, it'd be just a new roof, and they made no improvement. And I don't think that would be a logical way to go.
Sure, you could qualify the award, like we did with the gas line. You say if you don't get a certificate of occupancy within a certain time frame, the grant will be called lien on property. It'd be up to you. We did that with the gas line, we said get a CO within a certain time frame, or you owe us the grant back.
Well, Mayor, if I could.
yes.
To me, commissioners, for this piece of property, that's a little bit of a more risky option, because waterfront property maybe is one thing, or a place that they're renovating for commercial purposes. They apparently have the funds to do that. I share the concern, does this property owner really have the funds to go ahead with the renovation? And I don't want us to have a lien on property that is like a lot of the properties that we have liens on, is derelict. It will be a long time before we got the money back. And this CRA grant money that we have set it aside for grants, is a very small grant pot. And we've got to use it where it's gonna make impact, and where the property owner, like Commissioner Banks said, they'll get it back useful. So that's just my observation about that. I think it's a bit of a risk at this point. And I love that place. It's right there in the middle of town.
This is 19 Cedar Street. I'm passing around some photos. The request was for wood rot repair, about $6,600, and then painting the building for $5,000. This one we recommended the repairs and the painting at $50,000, because the entire building would be 50%. I'm sorry. Again, there's no point in painting it if the wood rot isn't taken care of. Any questions on this one?
No, Mayor, just if I might say, this is owner occupied.
Yes.
It's not a contributing structure, but, it's occupied by somebody who just moved here and, you know, is a good resident and keeps the place up.
Now, you have the option, when we get to the spreadsheet, if you decide not to fund some of these, you can put more money into others, it's up to you. We'll get there.
If you don't mind, I would like, the woodwork. I will be satisfied with the woodwork because it is, rotten, and the paint, I can do it another time. Thank you.
But, Ms. Gomez, I just have a question for you. Do you have, termites in your home?
It was, some with termites when we bought it, but I do not know where the termites are. It could be in the garage, but not in the house.
Okay, so, you think that it's free of termite?
Yeah, when we bought it, it was stated that it had termites.
Did you have it treated?
No, I haven't seen anything flying around, so I guess I'm safe.
Well, normally you just see the wings.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen anything, so
Okay.
I haven't, thank you.
This has got, this is wood, and then it's also your siding, it's also the siding.
That's the old asbestos.
That's an old asbestos siding, so what kind of an issue is that gonna create?
Asbestos,
Yes, yeah.
siding.
Most generally, asbestos siding is covered. You can't remove it. I guess you can remove it, but it's very
Can you
expensive.
just clean and paint it?
No,
No,
it's very expensive to remove.
yeah, it's very.
Yes, the only rotten wood is in the garage, and the garage is not asbestos. It's, the main house, no. There's no rotten wood in the main house. So I understand about, the asbestos. So none of the asbestos is bad. It's in the garage that I have the wood in the back portion.
So the pictures that have some of that asbestos siding missing are.
The gentleman that looked at it, he said,
Damaged.
yeah, the gentleman that looked at it, he said that he can, buy the individual sheets and just add them, and he doesn't have to do anything to mess with the siding. It's just two of them missing.
You cannot repaint asbestos siding?
I believe
You can paint
it. Asbestos has to kind of remain in place,
Intact.
intact, or you have to take it out, and of course, to take it out is.
Yeah, that's the
I
problem.
wasn't clear, the wood rod is just on the garage.
Yes.
The painting is the house and.
Yeah, the painting is the house.
So if we wanted to paint the house,
That's what I'm saying, if you paint the house,
that would be a
got,
bigger impact, I think.
you've got this asbestos siding that needs
Yeah,
some
they will
repair.
paint over it.
It needs some repair.
I think the new shingles are like fiberglass, aren't they?
Oh, I'm sure they're
I
like
used
that
to have
hard.
asbestos
Not
ring.
that hard, yeah.
Fiberglass.
But when we show that the root cause,
I'm
in
sorry.
other words, if you sure, with a house, at age, you can hardly tell unless you get somebody that was specialized in that field. In other words, like a pest control company,
Oh, about the termites?
and check it out.
So I bought an old home and like you said, well, you don't see them flying around.
Yeah.
Constantly, but they're there.
Yeah.
Most generally, so, sometimes it's an underlying,
Oh, you
issue.
have to get a termite person to
Yeah.
look at that. Okay.
Check that out for you, so you can make sure.
When you bought the house, Ms. Gomez, did you, was there any type of an inspection, or did they have a termite policy at that time that you continued?
Actually, it said that it did have termites,
Uh-huh.
and my husband, a handyman, 30 years, he looked through it and he said there were no termites, so I don't know. He, was the one that
Did it
advised me. to
have
buy it.
had termites
Had.
and been treated?
That I don't know.
Okay.
Well, I'm not asking this just to be,
Yeah, I
but it is
understand.
something that you should look at before you
Yeah.
just put slap paint on it. This would be a perfect opportunity to tint it
Yes,
and take care of that and then paint,
okay.
if you see what I mean, or fix the wood or whatever you kind of need at that point.
So maybe that's the next step, to get somebody to do that first.
And then get, and then get your termite and then possibly a termite policy, look into that too, because for your protection.
I will be in trouble there because I actually don't have no insurance in this house.
Okay.
Because the electric is very, very old and it's gonna be like $10,000 to get all of that rewired. So it's a lot of many steps to do before that.
Well,
Okay,
Well, that's true.
we were talking about a termite bond.
You're right, a
Not-
termite bond, not insurance, but a termite bond, I should have, I
Okay,
apologize.
okay.
And that's separate from your regular
Got it.
insurance, and that's if you do get termites after they treated it, then they'll cover the damage, so.
Okay,
That's just something for your protection once you put that work into it.
thank you.
With a lot of these old houses, and it's gonna get more and more difficult, I had to go through the same thing. To get insurance, we had to replumb the entire house. They want all the new electrical, so, as more and more of our houses, as they exchange hands with new insurance companies, we're gonna be faced with that, with them being able to get insurance.
Yes, they don't want risk. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, I have one more question here. Yes. So it's my understanding that Ms. Gomez said she would like to forego funding for the painting, but if I understood her correctly, she would like us to fully fund the amount for the woodrock.
Yes.
Okay, so in other words, you're asking for the full 6604, but you don't want the 2,500 that the city manager recommended for the paint.
Yes, and I guess it's kind of confusing when I had the two handymen, they look into the wood and the painting. And, I don't know what were the bids, and I know one of the handymans that I actually liked, he told me he kept everything under 5,000 or right at the 5,000. So that's the gentleman that I would like to work with, the one that, quoted 5,000.
That's Mr. Phyllis Tompkins.
Well, yes, because then that will be easier for me to pay him, and then if I have to continue on my own, we already talked about that I can pay him a little bit at a time and continue to work on the house.
I think in terms of bang for our buck, if we, for us, the 50% would be about $5,500. We could paint the whole house. And just a bigger impact, just something to consider, in terms of beautification and improvement of the neighborhoods. Something to think about.
Right, but I think Ms. Gomez said that she's interested in painting the house herself.
Well, if you wanna throw that in there, it'll be fine too, but what I'm saying, from my pocket, I would rather take care of the wood if it's between the two, because, I'm just concerned, that this wood is gonna get worse.
You would much rather us take care of the wood.
Yeah, and then I can take care of the paint, if that's an option, either or, A or B, yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Any more questions, Ms. Gomez?
Next applicant is 123 Cedar Street. This is the Jethro Baptist Church. And they have a number of things they want to apply for, but they felt the first step, as we just discussed, was termite treatment for the building at a cost of, what was $4,700, and we're recommending 100% funding of this grant. This
Yes,
is a contributing structure.
yeah, that's one of the old, well, as a matter of fact, the oldest church in the city.
And Mayor, if I could just add, so, and, this particular structure, is someone is checking, okay, well, this particular structure, through the efforts of the Fruit Lawn Peninsula Historic Society, which some of us are members of, this is the structure where the bell tower was renovated and restored. Right, we've heard about that, and there was quite a bit of, volunteer help, and there is a plan for this building that was done by the late Mr. Stagey, the retired architect, so. It's underway.
Any other questions on this one?
No, we really need it, because it really was, well, matter of fact, it's the oldest, and it's been there before I was. It's been there a long time.
That's really old.
I know.
You said that, I did not.
Okay.
So the next application is for 11 South Lake Street, 3 Bananas. The work is to supplement the millings in the parking lot, rework this to make the parking more efficient. The cost is $5,000. And I'm recommending we take this out of the ARPA funding pot to not only does economic development, but also provide some relief to the CRA funding. We could fund more with the CRA if we fund this out of the ARPA project, ARPA funds. Any questions on this?
Any questions?
I do have one question. So is this for renovation or expansion?
Well, it's kind of a renovation of the parking area.
I mean, I guess my main concern is they're not paving down by the water or cutting down any of the trees or
No.
anything of that nature. So it's more of an improvement?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
The next one is 111 North Summit Street. This is the old Crescent City Music Business roof repair. Actually, the estimate to do the entire roof was $56,000. So in order to make it more bite size, they did an estimate of the back half?
Yes.
Back half of the roof, 16.5. And again, this could be an ARPA funded project to help get this building in occupiable state. Right now, the roof is damaged up there, and the purpose would be to replace the whole roof, $56,000. But this is a smaller piece that they thought might be more palatable for us. This building has sold, so the applicant name on there is, and the new owner has filled out the paperwork, and we can switch that out should we decide on this project.
So Mayor, I do have a question about, for the new owner. Again, if we assist them with money towards the roof, A, are they actually planning to repair the whole roof? And B, do they plan to put this into some kind of commercial service?
Yes, I met with the owner just coincidentally. He came in, the water service and so forth. He is hoping to either have someone take over the existing business or have another tenant come in and sell off what's in there. So he's gonna be a landlord, not gonna use it himself.
Sure.
But he'll have tenants in there.
My understanding is, that the rest of the roof is in good condition. It was replaced, part of it was replaced after one of the hurricanes several years ago. But that's that one area that has been so problematic that was not replaced. And so I don't know if they would be doing the entire roof. Don't know if the entire roof would need it.
Well, let me ask you, what did you say the entire roof would cost? What was the?
56,000.
So we're gonna get 100% for, I don't know how large an area, at 16.5. Would the owner be, in tune for us paying for half of the roof, 50% of the total roof, and they pay the other half? And that's only another $10,000 to the city. In other words, it's done that way. There's no piecemeal, it's just a brand new total roof. And since you're taking this out of ARPA,
We could certainly
I
ask him
don't
to make that
know
offer,
if that's
yeah.
a good offer or not. I don't know how everybody else feels about that.
Well, Mayor, may I respond to Commissioner Burton? She said, how does everybody else feel? Certainly to be good stewards of our funds, I would be very interested in offering the new owners a portion. Because this is not a previously targeted building, is it? Or
It is.
It is
It's
a
on
target
this,
building.
yeah.
Okay, this is target building. Sorry, I could not find it on the list, but I think I see it now. We don't know whether the fact that a grant had been applied for was part of what, encouraged them to purchase it, or we don't know that. But certainly, I don't know, I mean, if they could survive with less, I think that's a great question. I mean, I think that's a great option, just because it's, it's in the middle of town, but it's not a historic building, and my personal view is, owners have the means to do these things, then it should be more their responsibility. And I think 50% is a good amount of money for the city to put in.
So let me be clear on this, because that's not, is that what you were saying, 50% of 16 or 50% of the entire
Of
roof?
the entire.
Okay, that's what I thought too.
Of the entire.
Yeah, that's what I thought she was saying, like the entire 56,000, so that would put us right at, yeah.
Well, so if the entire roof is, okay, that was the part about the piecemeal. I'm just not sure why we are paying for the whole roof if the rest of the roof is not in bad shape.
Just to have one, it's like with your tires. My husband always tells me every time, I'm like, I only need one tire. He goes, no, you gotta get all four at one time.
Got it.
You know, you do, but that's just the way you do it. I'm like, that makes no sense to me.
A roof isn't necessarily a good thing to piecemeal, that's all, and, I mean, if they're willing to put a brand new roof on and pay for half of that, and we are willing to pay for the other half of that, I think that would be the better way to go. Or we can drop 16.5 on it for, I don't know how big a section we're putting on there, it's not even half. I just don't think that's maybe
So
the best
these
thing.
28
Yeah,
versus
you got
16.
28 versus 16. My question is Sotelo, advertises right there on there. So that's not the bid that we're going with, though. We're going with and sometimes just because it's the cheaper bid doesn't always necessarily mean it's the best way to go.
That's right.
I found that, also. So South State, we're comfortable with South State doing this.
The $56,000 bid for the full re-roof, is from Sotelo.
It was from Sotelo that recommended that,
Yes.
okay. So South State, it might even be less, possibly, because they're coming in, 22.5 versus 16.5, so there's $6,000 there.
And Tilu, the previous owner shared, Tilu shared with me earlier the, estimate for the full re-roof. She was
Okay.
here a little bit earlier, because she wanted to be able to sign over the grant application to the new owner, but we've already been in communication with him, and he's aware, so, I think he's under the perception that, it just gets transferred over to him, so.
To me, I mean, and I know that's one of our targeted buildings, and anything they can do right there, because that's on our main street, that's the impression people have when they drive through Crescent City. A lot of times they don't go this way, they're driving straight through, and so, anything we can do to enhance that area, it's,
The owner did share with me that they've started to delve into, obviously, the first step is liquidating the contents. And he said the deeper they dig, the more stuff they find.
Yeah.
So there's a lot in there for them to liquidate. It is his intention, though, to get the property activated. He did mention a high-end, like a Harley, or choppers in there, a high-end showroom, something like that pertaining to motorcycles. But, like he said, the first step is just going through all of that stuff and liquidating it. So I have established a line of communication with the owner. He's in Bunnell. He's also a realtor, and he knows that we're very eager to get the property activated and get something done there. So he has all intentions of doing so once he gets through all that stuff.
how big is that building in comparison to the Peacock building? Do we know?
Is it bigger square footage?
I know it goes back further in the back, it extends further back, I was just wondering how much more square footage that is.
It's like 15,000, or I think, or we looked at it, I can look it up real fast. But it has like an extra floor back there, there's the warehouse that's not air conditioned, that kind of goes around, and so that's why you can get to it from the back. I just explained it as good.
Mhm.
It's big.
Okay, that was just an idea.
Yeah.
It is,
We consider
And the reason the price is, where is that because of that?
it's flat roof, it's flat roof. Okay, any more questions on this one? Okay, we'll move to the next one.
The next one is 107 North Main Street. This is city-owned property. What I'm requesting is not to exceed award for restoration plan. Essentially, the idea would be to go put out an RFQ for architectural services, someone who specializes in historic buildings. They put together plans for us, what it would take, what would be necessary to renovate and restore this building to usable state. And then that becomes the basis for future grant applications and other projects. We can begin to, we or someone else could begin to bite that off, in bite-sized chunks, get a grant for window replacement, get a grant for porch repair, roofing, and so forth. So the first step of any of that would be to have the work done by a professional. We can work off of those plans. So this again would be an economic development project out of the ARPA funding, and it would be a not to exceed amount. So we would, once you selected a firm from the RFQ, we would then negotiate with them cost. And what I've been told by architects that you can figure plans are about 80% of total construction. So if this were a $500,000 project when it was done, this should be plenty of money to get the plans. This is the first step. So this is a contributing structure and significant structure.
So it would be no greater than the 50,000.
Correct. We would just
Is what we would be looking at.
go to the next firm if we couldn't get the selected firm something under $50,000.
Commissioner?
I just wanted to add a couple of things. This building is the former New Moon Lodge, where Commissioner Banks was a member, and a couple of workshops ago, I shared with the rest of the commission that there was an article in the Florida Trust for Historic Preservation magazine that highlighted how important African American fraternal lodges like this one are important in Florida history. And this is absolutely one of those. And of course, the benefit of having a professional plan for the renovation is not only could we apply for grants, but if you have a professional renovation plan, it's possible that you might be able to get some donated help. But you know, we can't just really let people go in there without knowing what an engineer or architect says is supposed to come first. Once they tell us that, then we can, as the city manager said, we can work off that plan. And one day it is possible, we might be able to have a historic tour in town that includes our historic buildings and the old African American buildings that make a very nice time there. So
And
I
this,
think it's a great idea.
and so Charles, by this would give us, this would make us almost what we would consider shovel ready for some of these grants, because we would already have a plan in place, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And that does help you in, you know, when they're quantifying those. And as far as the historic, but while he's doing what he's doing, I was thinking that it would be really interesting, especially for our historic society, to put together and even make a path where people could follow it on their own. I just got back we went to Boston, and we did, of course, the trail, and it was, you know, everybody's looking for it. It was very interesting. There was a landmark there at each place that, you know, or a landmark marker that said, you know, why it was significant. And I know we do that during the month of, what month do we do that? May. But that would be neat to have it all the time, and people could do it on their own.
Right?
Yeah.
We are working on that.
Okay, good.
And I personally, DJ, and a few other people, we are working on that.
And what I noticed is, of course, you know, they have the bricks, but in areas where the bricks had been removed and it had to replace the sidewalk, they just painted the bricks. So I thought that was something else to think about, that, you know, as you did it, that you could paint those. Just something that Charles just talked about, to put some time on Charles.
Like faux, like
Yeah,
layout.
yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And we are artists here.
Yeah, we did.
I already enlisted Pastor Banks to be our spokesman to talk about these historical sites before he's gone, to have him in video for posterity, and he agreed to it. He told me yes.
Yeah.
That was true.
That's good, thank you. Elizabeth always has a way with words. That we appreciate. But that would be something very neat that we could do, and people, now there could be an app and they could even listen to it as they go through, that, it talks about, yes, ma'am.
I was just wondering if I could show you, all the video that I took of the water coming down, in back to give you a visual of what happens when it rains.
Sure, well, okay, Charles is still.
That's right, I was about to ask for a break, but Mayor, if I could just add one thing, the same, issue of this magazine, it has another article, or it might be the national tour, but there's another article about an app for tours. And so that's definitely something to
See
do.
the dirt?
People are doing it.
Keeps
You're
coming
absolutely right.
and creating this mountain.
Mayor,
And so you need a break.
yes, I do.
And then, Charles, what are you keying up for?
I'm trying to get the spreadsheet that has all the grants so
Okay,
we can do the math.
okay.
It's not loading.
And then when Karen gets back, we can also open it up for public comment if there's any public comment. Yes, ma'am, sorry, back on.
So you.
Yeah.
Water comes down.
Yes. Is that where there, is there a gutter there? Yeah, there is a gutter right there. So it's flowing
Yeah,
down.
it's
It'll, the rocks will allow it to percolate.
Yeah.
That's the word that's related, it percolates through there.
Thank you for.
Thank you for showing that to us.
Wasn't this building assessed for asbestos? Assessed it, and they said that they did have it,
Yeah, you got it.
and then there was a certain amount of money to take it out of it,
To abate it.
and it was quite about that money.
It's just on the outside too.
Yeah, I think it's like all the shingle.
Yeah, all the changes.
I mean, like I say, it's safe if you leave it
Yeah.
covered, right, stuff. Is that what you've been looking for? That's the first page, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's that?
Is that what you've been looking for?
Yeah, it wouldn't open or something.
Commissioner, we have to get back.
Mayor Myers, can you ask for this comment?
Yes,
I'm ready.
after he gets done with this.
Thank you.
John Mulaney, the Mulaney property, is his house still there, isn't it? AJ, you know Mr. Mulaney,
Yeah,
John Mulaney,
where was
is his house still down there?
it? So,
It's
on Prospect Street.
it's still there, right?
Yeah, his wife,
Yeah.
wife's still, he
Yeah.
passed, but his wife's still.
Down on South Prospect.
Yeah, okay.
It's, right across from not the open field. Well, there's a field and then there's a house you can't see because of that, but that house sits right there. It has a picket fence on the west side of the street,
Mayor Myers,
next to the Golden House. Yes,
the Princeton Music Store has 2,800 additional square feet. So that back part is like 2,800, that's not air conditioned,
okay,
2,865.
thank you. Okay, Charles.
So what I did was I created a spreadsheet to show, I'll use the high cursor here. The last few years, we've funded about $40,000 in the grant line. We've never spent it all. I think I can pull together 52,000 in the central CRA to fund these projects. And then this next column will be the recommendations that I gave you. And then the ARPA funds, you had designated $200,000 towards economic development. So if we go down through the 11 North Lake Street, the gutters funded at 50% would be 1,572. A hardscape, which is the rocks and the painting, the patios at 3,000. If we fully fund the parking lot expansion at 4,500, but not fund the window replacement for 334 Central, if we fund that at 100%, the North Main Street, which would be the roof replacement at 50%, the Grand Rondo roof replacement at 50%, the Cedar Street, if we did each aspect, this is before we change it, at 50%, the termite treatment of the church at 100%, and then we move the parking lot renovations, the music store, this is a partial roof at 100%, and the renovation plan into ARPA, we end up with 631, because the request, we didn't have enough money by $123,000. So this will still leave a little bit of money in that fund. 128.5 in the ARPA funds would be left for future incentivizing projects. If somebody wanted to come in and Sprague House or the empty store, we would still have a nice bit of money to offer them grants to help build out or handle some aspect of the project that might dissuade them from doing it. So these are what I recommended. If we can tweak this and it'll keep the totaling it up for us. For instance, if we want to just fund 100% of the wood rot repair on Cedar Street and none of the painting, that still leaves us, it puts us a little bit over. I heard some reluctance to fund the roof at Grand Rondo.
Personally, I think that, I don't think that's a good thing for us to do right now without more information and without the capacity of the structure owner to really do something with it. I mean, we're supposed to be helping people to get their buildings into use and to making things look better, but to me, this just seems like it's not gonna be enough, and we can't fund the whole thing for them. I'm just questioning whether this is really the right kind of project for a CRA grant. At this time, we don't.
Well, blight can be included in this, and this is definitely blight. I guess the biggest thing though is we want to see a plan.
And it doesn't finish the
That's what
job.
I'm hearing is that, that there's still a lot of work to do, and so if you do that and it sits for 10 years, what have we really accomplished?
We really won't be.
Well, let's go one step further though. I mean, the 21 North Main Street, I know is historically, on our historic records, but that building also has some issues with it where you're gonna put a roof on it and it's not been, and nobody's living in it for years, it needs everything new inside. That's something to keep in mind. I guess it's a start, very much a start.
Does anybody know how extensive the fire was?
Just don't. And maybe for both of those particular buildings, maybe we just need some more information on or a plan.
Both sides.
Because I really would like to see these things done, especially on Main Street and on Grand Rondo. But I agree. I think that we should understand how they're going to move it forward once we put a roof on it. That's all.
Cause it need to be moved forward. You know, one good is to spend, I'm just gonna use it this, we're gonna have $30,000 and to let it sit for another 15 or 20 years. That's not benefiting, that we ain't getting it back on the tax roll. The reason we, and they do a lot of something, but they still, you know, the tax roll. It's a little,
And they've asked on both of these, they've asked for 100% funding, correct? And they haven't gotten back with us yet as far as the 50% funding.
They're aware that we're
They're aware,
gonna,
okay,
the
they are
total
aware.
recommendation was 50%, but we didn't get a comment.
Well, I think we're dealing with the same, owner on both of these buildings. So I mean, if one doesn't work,
Different.
and, you know, they had to come up with 12,
But I think
125 for that one,
a lot of it.
maybe they, you know, they just need to, I just think we need a little bit of a, where do we go from here, you know, once we put a roof on it, on either one of those, by the way.
timeline.
Yeah, it's kind of time.
You know, that's the other thing too, Charles, is like, I thought Palmera's, I thought that possibly, even the Chinese restaurant, but none of them were interested in doing anything.
The 50% match is a deterrent. for
Was it a
most
deterrent?
people, yes.
But Palmera's, wouldn't that be is that a targeted?
It is.
I mean, I would even like to see, and I sent you pictures of how they do that with the planters, you know, and it's more economical than building, you know, where they could have outdoor seating, to do something like that.
And again, you could designate, award part of this money, and then in the months to come, we rework some of these and come back to you with another ask.
We get more CRA money next year, correct?
Well, every October 1,
October, okay.
yeah.
And this is what we're looking at for next year. This is for next year's funding, next year's
Okay.
funding.
Yeah,
You
we
missed that,
spend it
I'm
all.
Sorry, that was before you came in.
Oh, okay.
Right.
But, well, to me, I think at present, I would like to see us take off 40 Grand Rondo. I'm hesitant to take off, 21 North Main Street, because that's actually a contributing structure to the historic district, and every structure counts.
Yeah, and I think I understand that, but I just think that we still also need a plan for that particular structure. That's all I'm trying to say.
And that's very true. It's possible they might be able to get a grant for that structure. We don't know.
So why don't you put that one back on?
Well, if one option would be not funded at this time until they come back with a renovation plan. Like we think somebody would be living there in a year or in 2 years, or that's what I'm hearing is, we don't want to fix the roof and then it's vacant for another 10 years.
But, so that costs, oh, I'm sorry.
It's gonna look funny with a new roof and no windows in it. It's out. How did that go look?
So Mayor, my question is, if we don't fund these, and then would we put the money aside and give the owner an opportunity to come back to us with a
I
plan?
think we should, to me, that would be very.
I just want to be clear that the money is not going somewhere else.
I would, at your direction, I would not redistribute it into the budget. I would leave it in the line for grants. And at this time, currently what we have, you would award 28,000 in grants, and we would have another almost 24,000 to look at these other projects again, to come back. And that owner may want to come back and go for one project of more of a renovation plan for an interior of one of those two, and leave the other one to next year or something.
Yeah, that's what we're kind of looking for.
And again, I want to make sure that everybody understands the reason that ARPA funds are not being used for this is because these are residences and not in economic development projects. So there's stipulations on what that money can be used for, so that's what that question comes up.
And Mayor, I have, a concern about I guess it's the hardscape for 11 North Lake Street. I looked at the video after I took my break, before I came back and sat down. We're talking about a stormwater issue. And I don't necessarily think that gravel is going to solve that issue. We're talking about the side of the slope with the property that's both north of 11 North Lake Street. I mean, if the water is coming down the hill, I think there's a stormwater issue there. And usually to resolve things like that, people do things like French drains or drainage pipes. And I would hate to see a lot of money spent with the idea that it was gonna help water coming down the hill. I mean, that's a very steep hill. And it's not the only place like that to have problems. I think the water issue might need an entirely different solution. I mean, it might help to put actual landscaping there, but we don't know. I think, I just think that needs a closer look by somebody who knows about drainage. Because the hardscape is the gravel.
And painting the patio floors with a non-slippery, material paint.
I believe with, and let me ask, can we ask Zinnia that when she was getting these quotes, Zinnia, when you were getting these quotes, what was their solution? I mean, other than that, and we understand the rocks, and I think that the term really is it allows that water to percolate, the rocks, it can kind of percolate through there as the water as it comes through. I'm having to do that, so I understand, with the rocks, but you've got a pretty significant, water issue.
Well, may I say something? I took a look at your video, and basically, you also have a maintenance problem where you're really not maintaining your gutters very well. In other words, your gutters are full, and the water has no place to go but pretty much down, making a mess all over everything, looks of it. And of course, all of it slopes towards where it's supposed to come out of the pipe down below, but I'm sure it's all sloping that way. And because everything is just jammed up, it's just gushing. It's using the pipe, but also not using the pipe, if that all makes kind of sense.
Yes.
But, so, you're asking for gutters. You're asking for, I think, I don't mind the whole gravel kind of deal for that, because that would help you maintain a few other issues such as grass maintenance and all that kind of stuff. But you also need maintenance, on some of this stuff on at least a yearly basis to maintain these gutters up above, and some of the things that you're asking to be fixed and repaired, you should really have a plan in place to maintain these on a yearly basis. That's all I'm gonna say.
So, when I purchased the building a year ago, I was not aware that there was no gutter guards at the top of the building. And, so within that year, there has been debris that's grown there, due to the storms. There's also been damage from recent storms to the gutters. So it's almost a perfect storm, ideally, because the gutters aren't flowing like you mentioned. Like Miss Lisa said, there's another issue where the water's coming this way and it's all piling up right there. Now, Adam and Christian, the two gentlemen that gave me the estimates, mentioned that when they do the rocks, they would do them in a way that it assists the water flow.
Yeah, that's
Cause I asked them the same thing, I said, how does that work? So So the goal is, from what they explained to me, the goal would be to create the rocks and the landscaping to assist with the water going down.
Okay.
So, how if they're gonna add additional, pipes in that, it didn't explain in the estimate for Christian, but I know for a fact that Adam did explain to me that he would have to add that.
Okay.
So maybe that's why his is a little bit more expensive.
With your concrete, the two concrete, estimates that you have in here, I noticed where they're also doing, at least one of them was doing some grading. Did you talk to them as far as if they had a solution to?
No, they did not mention anything to me about, water piling up. They did, one of them, Easy Concrete explained that the backing, because there's already somewhat of a wall
Yeah.
holding
wall
up
there.
the dirt, that they would continue that wall, onto the additional part that they create. I don't know if that helps. I don't know. But when it does rain, I don't ever see an issue with the other sides of the building. The issue I'm seeing is that corner.
Right there in that corner, yeah. Has it flooded into any of that apartment? Has that water flooded into the
I
apartment?
haven't seen it,
Okay.
but I saw that recently and I took that video. It could have been happening for a while. Who knows what's been going on this whole time? But I do know that the sides of the building show erosion because the water is not leveled, the platform is not leveled to a certain extent so that the water can flow. But yeah, I haven't gotten it into my apartment yet that I know of.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Are we good with this? We've got a total of, now let's go back to Cedar Street. I think I moved that to, where are we? Fully funding the wood rod repair, but not the painting. It gives, we're at 28,183, and that would leave some money in there, for folks. Now, again, the way our program is set up, it's a competitive deadline-driven program, so this consideration might be for these applicants to come back, rework their plans, particularly the two properties looking for a roof, rather than just opening back up, anybody could come and apply for the 23,000 that was left.
Mayor, I thought that, did we just say that we would not reallocate that until the, current applicants have a chance to come
Yeah,
back?
that's what you just said.
Well, I wouldn't put it into other
He's not gonna-
grant, funding.
Funds.
Right.
So nobody else
Budget
can
lines.
come in and ask for that
Okay.
until they've had a determination. Is that what you said, Charles?
Yeah. And then, did we decide on the partial roof replacement at 100%? Or ask if they're willing to do a full roof replacement at 50%?
Well, this is still, we haven't voted on this yet, I can't vote on it
Right,
until
but I'm
next
trying to get a
week, so I
consensus.
think maybe, is everyone, if they don't wanna do the whole roof, they don't feel the whole roof needs to be done, is everyone comfortable with keeping that in there right now at the 16.5 at 100%? I'm comfortable with that, but I don't know how everybody else feels. But with the understanding, Christina, that maybe we go back and talk to them
Ask him if he wants to do
and
that.
ask them.
Okay.
Not that there's any guarantee, because right now, if that adds, especially if it's Sotelo and they're, but the other company might be less, but at a 50% match, that he could have the entire roof replaced. But there's no guarantee, just with the understanding, would they want us to even consider that?
I just think you're I just think if you don't do the whole roof, that next year they're gonna ask for another 65, then possibly, because you know, you may have to split it in thirds. The following year, maybe another 65. You know, whereas if you just get the whole thing done with the 25-year warranty, you get it done and it's done for 25 years.
See how much more they're willing to contribute to that. And you know, when I go back and I look at the 21 North Main Street, I do agree, that we just need to have a plan. I mean, it's in pretty bad, it's in pretty bad
It's in bad
condition,
shape,
it's in
yeah,
bad shape,
and we don't know what to find the inside,
yeah. And so you
because I haven't been in there.
put a roof on it, and, you know, you just don't know what else is needed there.
Okay.
You know, and commissioners, by all means, go out and visit these properties. I mean, we could have even had a little tour, a little mobile workshop.
The applicant may come on the 14th and want to address the questions. But I'll prepare the agenda according to this, results of this.
Okay.
Right.
And then did you do with, Ms. Gomez, you kept it just, you did it just at the,
The wood rot,
wood rot repair, okay.
which would be the garage. Right.
We're Charles on Main Street on Grand Wonder, did you go out and visit,
I did not visit the sites, no, I didn't.
I think that we need to back up and do that, commissioners.
And we can do that, I mean, that's,
We have another week to go visit and
we could do it as a group, or we could do it as a group, we could advertise it and do it as a group. We've got enough golf carts. Put on a little golf cart, have a little golf cart. Yes, Commissioner, yeah.
But if we do it as a group, then wouldn't it have to be open to the public?
Yeah, we can advertise it.
I know, but,
join with your golf carts.
Yeah. It's on with the golf carts.
well, it was my understanding, we're gonna ask the owner to show us the interior. They might not want the whole city looking at the interior.
Okay, I guess we'd have to get their approval, whether or not they want to. It's also public funds that are being used on the property.
Well, the public could show up, but they do not have them go through the building. Then probably not necessarily safe. You guys may just kind of looking through the door yourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I think just to get a visual of the building and what we're dealing with, and again, not getting into this whole thing about, you know, us wanting to go into their properties, that's not what we're saying here.
Yeah.
We're saying, because none of this is internal, you know, this is all external work.
We'll reach out to her and see if we can set that up by tomorrow.
Okay,
So what day of the week would be good? Either Monday, Tuesday, or
Well,
Wednesday.
it shouldn't take a whole lot of time to get right around any property.
Karen's gotta get it advertised. Karen, how long would it take you to get that? Just to put it out?
newspaper?
When she get up?
No, I don't think you have to.
I will get it advertised within a day. All I have to do is put it on the board.
I could do it Tuesday, I can do it Tuesday morning, I could do
It'll have to
it,
be after 3 for her to be available.
okay, after 3. What does Wednesday after 3 look like for everybody?
No, I
Because that commission day is tough because we're trying to get everything, wrap our brains around a big packet. So I don't like to do that. I personally don't like to do that in the afternoon of commission day. But Wednesday, what does everybody Wednesday afternoon look like?
I can do Wednesday after 3. I'd like to keep it between 3 and 5. There's other things I do Wednesday evening, probably Commissioner Banks.
Honestly, we could start it early, and I think that we need to go to each property, and knowing that hers is at 3 o'clock, she wouldn't be able to get there till 3, I mean, we could even start it earlier if we needed to. Say 1:30.
You want to visit all the
I
applicants?
think we should, I think if we're gonna visit hers, we need to go look at all of them, in fairness to all the properties.
Well,
Anything we need to do our due diligence on this.
Yeah.
So that,
I mean, it's pretty easy.
well, some of the properties we're already familiar with, that we've all been.
I'm just saying that if we're gonna go, that we should, that would be my recommendation. It's up to, you know, if the commission doesn't want to do that, that's just my recommendation. That it's very easy to visit each property. Now, granted, the music store, we're not gonna be able to see the roof. You know, you won't be able to, no, I'm not climbing the ladder. You know, and with the church, you know, we're not gonna be able to possibly see the termites. If there's termite damage, you of course would see the damage on the outside. But, let's just,
We aim for
3 o'clock.
3:00.
3 o'clock, and then it will start there, we'll start at hers and look at any other ones that each commissioner might want to have some questions about. I think it would, that we should go look at 11 North Lake Street.
Yeah, 3.
Yeah, I'll let you know
Okay,
where
so
we're gonna meet. We'll announce it.
where are we gonna meet?
We just meet here and
Meet
then
here
cart over to.
and cart over. I have a golf cart, you have a golf cart, you have a golf cart, Commissioner Banks could ride it, in the golf cart,
CRA.
with you, the CRA golf cart, with you and Christina. That's, everybody's in favor of that, I think we fine with me. I really do think we need to do that. Okay.
All the properties that we've been, everything. There's 3, at least 3 I would like to visit.
Ron,
Yes, sir.
Sorry, may I
You
just
wanna
wanted
come
to, sorry. I just wanted to add, piggyback to that, once you visit my property, and I would love for you to visit it so you can get a visual. I would respectfully request if you could consider, 100% of the landscape and of the hardscape, and then, 50% of the gutters in addition to the 100% expansion. But that, upon review of the property, you can, confirm that with me, with that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and with that, are we done with this discussion? I can open it up for public comments. Okay, at this time, I'm gonna go ahead and open up for public comment. Please come forward, state your name and your address if you so choose. You have 3 minutes.
BJ Laurie, 505 Magnolia Avenue. I am here representing FPHS, the Fruitland Peninsula Historical Society. We are thrilled that you are going to start the process with the Newman Lodge. I think Sherry wrote a letter to you guys a few weeks ago. We are fully in favor of that. I think it would be a great project, and getting the right starting done, make sure that, we get a good architect, we get a good plan and move on. And also the fact that the 19 Cedar Street, the church, is very important to us. It's one of the oldest churches in town, as well as Bethel, and it has a lot of importance to this community, and they've been doing a lot of work. And Jim Steggy is looking over this right now, making sure that we get this done. So I would be remiss if I did not mention that. But we're very in favor of this, and I think it's a great use of funds. So that's it.
Thank you. Thank you. Do you have any other speakers?
Liz Gomez, 19 Cedar Street, and I don't know, if I needed to talk maybe to, Ms. Glover about this, but, she's my neighbor on, the 40 Grand Rondo. And I know when I moved there and I had the pleasure to meet, Commissioner Cindy Burton, because I was so concerned about everything that was going on with that house, with all the furniture outside on the lawn, and we were gonna have sunrise in the park, and I felt that it was so horrible to have company and this house look like that. And then coming to another meeting and learning that there was a lien in that house, and then learning that house have been empty for so many years. The gentleman that just sold the, property in front of Lake Stella, he had like a little tent there, and he just sold the property for 50,000. He wants to get hold of her because he wants to buy that house as it is, cash offer. And I don't know if maybe she'll be interested in that. I understand that maybe has sentimental values for her, but if the house been abandoned for 10 or 11 years, I wonder if maybe she will take the cash offer from this guy. He's very interested in buying the house as it is and rebuilding everything from scratch, and no help from the city or anything. So if anybody has her number, I would like her number. He gave me all the information.
Any other speakers? Hello. You'll just state your name and your address if you so choose, but definitely your name, please.
My name is Tony Rock, and this is my wife Kathy. On a note of thanks, we just want to thank you for granting us and considering us for the grant of our church remodel, the termites for our church. We thank you so much. Our church is one of the oldest church, or the oldest church in our community, and we need, we're a small congregation, and we need all the help we can get. And we do appreciate it. On another thanks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for sitting through this meeting in this icebox.
All right.
Do we have any other speakers before I close public comment? Okay, with that, I'm gonna go ahead and at this time, I'm gonna close public comment. Commissioners, do you have anything else before we, take a break and then move on to our next workshop? Anything else? The one thing I would ask Charles, and I know that, someone said this to me, earlier this week, and there's still confusion out there about where this money comes from, with the CRA. So maybe Thursday, when you get into it, maybe just a couple of seconds, just segue into, this is the CRA money and just how we arrive at that. Just kind of, just a quick overview so that people have a general understanding that it has to be spent specifically in the CRA for which it's designated, and for which we get it from. It's from those properties within the CRA. So I just think that's important, so for clarity, so that there's no confusion. So, thank you. And with that, I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna recess for, what time do we want to come back, commissioners? Did we say it immediately following?
Immediately following, yes, ma'am.
Need a bathroom break.
Okay.
You ready?
Okay, so let's say we're gonna come back in 10 minutes. So at 3:45. With that, we're gonna recess this workshop.
we're gonna do the same sort of exercise with the spreadsheet that we did for the grants for these projects. And again, this is not, even when you vote to approve the budget, it's not approving the purchase or the expenditure. We'll bring each one of these to you for your review and approval or adjustment. So, but I do want to kind of earmark this money. This is the penny sales tax. I think it's important to earmark it for projects. So what I did was on the left side are the projects. I think maybe added a couple since the last time we talked about it and tweaked them a little bit. Then the first column, we have $621,000. It's a little bit different, I think, than maybe than the one in your packet. I looked at the numbers again on the recent budget report. And then the middle column there, partial, I tried to group them because our budget lists them as just equipment, improvements, infrastructure, community development, and so forth. So this will tells me what these totals would be. And then the right-hand side is my recommendation of how we can, and what we'll work with today to get it to where you want it. And you'll see that at the bottom, this number, this 33.8, this is what would be the fund balance, or what we've been calling contingency. And some of you wanted a large amount here as sort of a rainy day emergency fund. Bearing in mind, we have over $1 million in rainy day fund in the general fund. So this is all the projects. You can see we don't have enough money. It would put us negative 176 if we did everything. So what I did was,
Let me ask you a question. Karen just handed us some, and this has 690, so we all need to adjust that to 621, correct?
Correct. Yeah. This is more up to date. So as we discussed, I put the impact fee study over here. If we were to fund that, 68,000. The F-250 pickup truck and the F-450 are trucks for, this pickup would be a dump bed, would replace our dump truck that we sold. You'll see in the financial report, we got about $50,000 in new revenue from our surplusing of our old equipment. This is the trencher, and there's a memo I got from Dave. I think he'll be here at 4. He looked at renting one, talks about why that's not the way we need them overnight and at the moment's notice, or even renting one long-term. The trencher we use as it's a backhoe and it's 2 pieces of equipment in one, and we'd have to rent 2 pieces of equipment to equal that, because they don't rent out the equipment that we have. So it's in your packet, a memo from him why we need to purchase one. This is the sewer jet, buying a new sewer jet. The pipe squeezing, this is for natural gas, $4,000. And then this is a ballpark figure, the $50,000 for the restrooms at Colbert Park. That could either do the whole job or match a grant. Playground equipment at Colbert Park. This is the North Lake Street Stormwater Project. And we put it in there at 120,000 was the estimate we got. And then over here, what I described was a way to take a bite. We asked them to give us a partial, we could do part of the project, just the French drains. Keith told me this morning, though, that this is not the right number. The guy came back to him and said it would be more like $100,000. So that may not be a desirable approach. Renovation of the aerator structure. This is at the water plant. Power vent and easy vent for the storage tank at the water plant. To help dispel I believe that's to dispel the chlorine gas. Containment and lead removal of the south tower. This is the historic water tower. And what I'm recommending is if we pull that out and make it one of our legislative requests to the legislature, part of one of our water projects, that would relieve the amount. City Hall renovations is just the ongoing improvements to this building. And then I added cleaning and painting the Marcus Hardy gazebo in Eagle Lion Park, something we had talked about, but I didn't have it on the list previously. So with those adjustments, again, this is probably, if we put this back at 120,000, can't quite do it.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
I mean, this is not in stone yet, right?
Correct.
Well, I see we want the restroom at Colbert Park, but then we also want playground equipment at Colbert Park, I guess. Can we do one or the other? I think the restroom maybe first this year, and then, next year do the playground equipment and then put the North Lake Street Stormwater Project back in there as a positive, that $40,000. Can we do something like that?
That's a possibility. That would bring us within budget. That's a possibility, yeah.
That's my thought on that. I know we have playground equipment at Dexter Beach. We have playground equipment in Fairbanks, playground at
Eagle Lion.
Lion. So I think we could wait a minute on that.
What do y'all think about that?
Yeah, we can wait.
We could also apply for a
I was
grant.
gonna
We
say,
missed the
that's
FERDAP
something
grant
that we
for
could
this
get.
year.
But we could get a grant on that possibly too.
Well, I think personally, I don't think that we should spend any of the money at Colbert Park until we have our infrastructure taken care of. Because for playground equipment, there's probably a lot of private grants. And that's the kind of thing that in past in Crescent City, community members that wanted something that was fairly small like that, they would go out and look for a grant. And I'm not convinced that it's a good idea at the present time for us to be adding restrooms. Because we also have restrooms at Dexter Beach and other places. I don't know. I mean, certainly, I agree with Commissioner Burton that, if anything has to make way for necessities, one or the other of these would be the right thing, particularly when, I'm just guessing, there are probably all kinds of playground equipment grants. So, yeah, I mean, we have to fund our necessities.
I think the restroom to me though, the historical value of this park and what it means to the community, for which it serves, I think that, the only park that we make them use a portlet. And so they've been asking for this. I know this has been an issue for years, even long before I was sitting here. And, if we can do it, with that, the playground equipment, yes, we can hold off on that and look for another way to fund that. But I just feel like, and it might be something with the restroom that, you budgeting for 50,000. It could be that some of the community, we've got a lot of people in the community that this means something to, that has skills that they can come in and help with that too, to offset some of that. So maybe it won't be as much as 50,000. But I do think that, it's important that we look at that. But I also say that, Charles, I would say, what do we know first and foremost has to be done? I think that's what we would want to look at is what is a necessity, right? I mean, everything on here we know needs to be done, but what's a priority at this point in time? I'm sure the North Lake Street Stormwater Project, we know that is. The renovation of the area or structure, that's a priority. Is that a priority?
I think both of those, the power vent and the aerator structure are very important.
So we've got some things on here that we really, that need to be done.
Mayor, could I make a comment about, the projects? Some of these are for enterprise fund entities, the water and the natural gas, correct?
Yes,
So can we, if we're spending Better Place Plan money for these, can we create a loan so that the enterprise fund, if funds become available, can pay us back for those monies?
Well, they're already, how much does, they already owe the general fund.
yeah, they do.
Both of them?
Yeah, the gas owes us, I think, $80,000, and, I just read the report from Dale. Do you remember what the water, I think it's, the Dale still here? No. There was a loan for the water fund in addition to the debt and the wastewater fund.
He needs to be here. I'm sorry,
I'm sorry,
the dog cross. I didn't hear that about.
There's- I believe it's the water fund owes the general fund somewhere in the range of $100,000 and and that was before I got here, yeah, the natural gas does, and then we have formal debt with the wastewater fund.
But regardless, it seems to me that it would really be more proper accounting that, if the enterprise funds and we've raised the rates and who knows what's gonna happen in the future, but it seems really more proper accounting for us to start putting that on the book. That's what it really
We could have
should
them
be.
pay that back in the future.
Yeah, and, it could come in handy sometime. I mean, I don't see that it hurts anything. We can always, if the debt can never be paid back, we can always forgive it, and if it can be paid back, then the Better Place Plan Fund would be, better off.
Sure.
Any
Any thoughts on that?
Upsets me that, our enterprises don't pay for themselves, but they don't.
We're getting there.
But the other thing too, that would help ourselves, that we, for some reason, don't seem to think it will, or at least a few of us. We should support Dale's plan on investing our money, so we can make some money off of those, monies that we have in the bank that, just sit there, not working for us.
We are planning on that still. We budgeted, with that in mind.
Yeah,
We just need to, finish the audit and let it all settle out and see how much we have available that's just sitting there that we could invest.
okay, because it seemed to me like we voted that down.
No, you voted down the policy, the actual policy documents, but we can come back to you just with a request because it's not really an investment, it's, I think it's money market accounts, it's not really.
I'm not sure, but we need to do something
Yeah.
to, instead of money just sitting there,
We're gonna bring that back to you,
not making money for us. Okay.
because that interest is in the budget.
That interest, by having that money in reserve, do that interfere with getting grants for certain things?
It does, it impacts our ability, particularly USDA told me, the grant, writer said you've got too much undesignated cash
Yeah.
to qualify,
Oh, I heard that.
yeah.
And that's over above what we've got, what we're looking at here, I mean,
Yeah,
that's our reserve
it's not including
money,
this.
but, yeah, that doesn't even.
And actually, there's been over 500,000 undesignated as well, so.
Well, I think you have your staff here, I don't know if you want to.
Keith, the Lake Avenue update, we need to do the whole 120,000, is that where that landed this morning?
Not really according to what Richard said, but he said like 68,000.
Oh, it still would be 68 for a bite? Just the trench drain, the French drains and,
Let me get with him on it, because he's kind of got me confused, and I think Jason Shepler's got me confused, because originally we were gonna do the whole thing, and then Richard done his own plan, and I think he said it was about 68,000.
and the whole thing was like 120, right? Well, right now I've got 120 in here that we could manage by removing, we thought we'd go after the playground equipment later or with a grant.
Yeah,
I'd rather do the whole thing. We just do it all and it's done. And,
You're talking about
the Lake Avenue
yeah.
stormwater problem.
And that's North Lake Avenue, correct?
The north end, yes.
Well, we waited a long time for this too.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's been broken for a long time. It's time to fix it.
Yeah, I have a question for the city manager. So for the $120,000 for the North Lake Street stormwater project, does that take care of water flowing directly into the lake?
What it does is it reroutes the water that's currently flowing into Mr. Tatum's yard
Right.
into the ditch that's on the west side. Then it goes through the swamp into the lake.
Okay, but it doesn't just pour directly into.
Correct. We want to utilize the natural filtration system that's there.
Okay, because I know, Mr. Ackerman had sent us all a letter about that.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure that there's the right amount of filtration.
This creates no new outfall, which was his concern, that we were creating a new pipe.
Those are the magic words. right?
Yeah.
No new outfall.
And also, we've got engineers that are experts at this that would be advising on that,
Yeah,
correct?
mid-hours
Yeah.
did the design.
To make sure that happens.
So this leaves 23,008 undesignated. And then again, as we mentioned, some of these projects will come in under, as you mentioned, some people have volunteered, Pastor Roberts, to help with the bathroom. So, and then the city hall renovations, those things, these are kind of not to exceed numbers, may come in below. And then we'll bring each one of these to you for approval as the projects come up.
But at least it will be designated, we'll have these all will be
Correct.
designated within this account, okay?
Well, I guess one concern I have about, spending every dollar that we have in the Better Place fund is, we do not yet have the master plan report.
Correct.
There might be a recommendation, there to spend some funds that would need to come from Better Place Fund. Because we don't have any, design expended in the regular budget.
So we could bring that to you at that time to make a change. And again, some of these you may, mid-year, we say, you know what, let's hold off till next year on doing the project. And then those funds wouldn't come out of this budget.
Okay, I'm just saying there may be, we have a study out there and we don't have the result yet.
That's true.
Okay.
Did you want to hear about the trencher? I know David's here, so if anybody wants.
If you
to
talk
hear
about the-
trencher,
Buying versus renting.
Well,
just for everybody's, so they understand.
On the trencher situation, the one we've got, the main frame is about 1997. But, the main frame's a 2003, the backhoe's a 97. It's an attachment from two diggers back that we've kind of cannibalized and put together. To get another one exactly like that would be about $150,000 from Vermeer. Years ago, we had Ditch Witch. Ditch Witch is a lighter unit. It's just as good. It's better on the customer's yards because it's lighter. That's about $98,000. Now to rent, I don't have that piece with me. Do you have
It's
that?
in the packet.
Okay. It would come out to about, I think it was $1,500 a month, but that doesn't include the insurance. The insurance and everything, I believe, is another $250, something like that. But one issue we would have a renting, if we were gonna rent, we would have to rent by the year. We would have to keep the unit here because it's a special unit and most rental places, they don't have them. So it'd be a special rental if we could get it. We'd have to keep it, so therefore we'd have to do a year lease plan and then also set up for a year's worth of insurance on that. Because if something happens in the middle of the night, I can't call a rental place, hey, we wanna come pick up a trencher, we need it right now. It's too bad, it'll be the next day or whatever. So we have to have it here for 24/7 out of the blue. I mean, I hope that prevents us from ever having to have it, but that's about the only way we could really, otherwise I'd have to use Keith's backhoe. He just got rid of his dump truck and that was the only thing heavy enough to actually pull that big of a unit safely to wherever we're gonna go. So that's another issue there. We've used his backhoe in the past on the sides of DOT right away, but we would have no way of getting that digger there now without driving it, which is really, it's against the law to do that, isn't it? We're here to San Mateo.
no, you can put it slow with the vehicle, I don't think it's time.
But if it's up in somebody's yard or whatever, we can't drive that up in their yard. I mean, some places it's too soft anyway, it's too wet. But that is an issue, but that unit, as I say, the last brand new unit we had was like 97.
So it has about a 20 to 25 year lifespan.
It can go longer than that as long as it's taken care of, but that's the whole thing. It has to be taken care of, just like everything else. I mean,
So,
I was just gonna ask two friends, that, what did you say, $1,500 a day?
no, it would probably be by the month. I think it's like 200, $200 a day, but by the month you can get it cheaper.
It's like 1,300 plus your fuel, plus the insurance.
Right,
Okay,
the
so
insurance
for
itself.
$1,500 a month though, do you keep it for the entire month on the property or?
We would have to, because that's what I'm saying, if we took it back every time we needed it.
So if you can keep it at the property and then what is the insurance cost? Do you kind of know?
I think that was like another $250 a month.
So,
And also too, apparently that matter of what Charles was talking about, we were talking about getting this unit out of the Better Place Plan or whatever, but that would have to come out of the budget line if we were gonna rent it, so that would be about another, what, 15,000 a year?
well, and that would go into roughly in about 5 years, we would use up the $100,000.
Exactly.
And so we'd still be going forward. And so for the lifespan, this lifespan on this could be 20 years at $100,000.
I've tried looking at some really good used ones, but once you find it, you've gotta jump that day, you can't wait more than a week because they're gone, but, I've only seen two, and Keith and I were at the last auction, and we saw one that still had nipples on the tires. I don't think that thing been drove more than 100 feet. I think it was sitting in the back of a barn somewhere, and I never used it. It was one of FPLs. Or it was stuck in a
What did it
flood.
go for?
I was at Jacksonville
It was cheap.
auction.
Okay, so Mayor, I have a question.
Yes,
So if we allocate the $100,000, we agreed to make that available now as opposed to October 1st, well, I guess that's coming up pretty fast, then you would have the option of buying a good used one as opposed to a new one, if you have the funds available.
If we can find one. The problem is finding a good used one.
That's why I said you would have the option if you could find one.
the problem is we run into this with Keith trying to find trucks, and he's found good deals on trucks, but doesn't have the approval, so then we have to gather and give them the approval, so that's something that if,
Let's go.
yeah, and then they're gone. They're gone because as we know,
Well, nowadays with the internet, I mean, the last two auctions we've been to, there's people on the internet, they're in South America bidding, and they're out bidding us left and right, because they've got more money to spend, so, of course, they're gonna spend a fortune shipping it, but they outbid us, so we lose out there.
it's something we need to be aware of, cognizant of, with some of these, if we're asking them to get used, we've got to give them an authority, we've got to give them the authority to spend.
I mean, the unit I have now still runs, but, you know, sooner or later, it's gonna quit, and then if it quits in the middle of a budget, we have to wait 6 months. I mean, we're in an issue there, but it's really, it's more of it's a safety equipment piece is just as much as an everyday, because when we do a service, we have to use it. But if there's ever an emergency, we need to, you know, dig a hole rapidly or whatever, or if it's deep, whatever the issue may be. In some areas, it's hard clay or it's just solid roots. So if you had to use a shovel and an axe, you'd be there all night trying to do something, but, you know, it's just one of those deals, but.
Okay.
All right, anything else? All right, thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Well, commissioners? This what you get this big salary. So,
These hard decisions,
yeah, I'm making these hard decisions.
So Charles, where are is that where we are right now, with backing everything out?
23.8, yeah.
Okay,
That's if we spent 100% on each of those things indicated. We still have a little bit of money.
But the first three things that we kind of know we need them, because we run trucks in the hole. I think the one they got now, I don't know how many.
I had the oldest truck, it was a 2000, but now our new guy's driving it, it doesn't have air conditioning, but he's young, he's tough.
And so
um,
we need, We really need these for the three.
And so that's backing out the playground equipment at this time,
Correct.
and we back that
So we
out.
would move forward, the equipment purchases, we would move forward on those. The restroom building, we would begin the process of the design and construction, that would take a while. The North Lake Street, we would instigate that right away. The aerator and power vent, are those things we need to get on right away, the aerator and power vent?
Yeah, the aerator and power vents, two important things for the water.
Okay.
So we would do those in October.
Now, in Harrowbank Park, which is a large park and it covers quite an area. Now, the Cobalt Park is a very small park, and we don't have no big occasions out there. And the people is very few, they like to sit in their car, you know, some of them don't come in, very few people. Yeah, I heard somebody say about it, there are a lot of kids out there, but I got to see them. I see few families sit out there sometime and they have a little birthday party around there because the other place be loaded. So now, could we use, now, cause we got one pony party out there, we don't have no two pony parties out there.
Right.
But is there a big difference between the two bathrooms,
We could do a single, unisex unit rather than, two like we have everywhere else, is another possibility.
I just wondered the price gap in
So
between.
I can bring that to you as we move forward with this. What's the cost of a men's and women's, and what's the cost of one unisex? And the different types of construction. I know there's some, it's just they bring it, you set it down, you hook it up and it's ready to go, or there's block construction. So I can bring you those differences and you can make that decision at that time. This would just allow for up to $50,000 towards that.
You know, the kind of, I'm gonna call it porta potty, but it's really kind of not, you know, the ones that they have in certain parks that they're not flush.
The compost.
There's compost, the state parks do that, it's a lot
Yeah,
of
so
state
now,
parks.
is that something that we can consider? For this particular park?
I wouldn't care for those. Yeah.
Well, I'm just asking.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, the state parks are, they're pretty decent, really.
So that's a forest area, when
Yeah.
not an urban area to be worried about,
Keith, when is our sewer line is out there accessible, kind of good,
For Culver Park?
yeah.
Yes, sir. It actually runs through the park.
Oh,
I didn't know that.
So we going good, yeah.
So that's easy.
That would be, no, I was
Sorry,
more
you
or less,
brought that up. I didn't know. So,
well, cause, well, you take right in the city hall here. That new bathroom we installed there, that's what male and female.
yes,
correct?
sir. Yes.
Okay, so I thought maybe if we just put one out there and put up there, cause a lot of places you go in, they got that. Yeah, a couple of places in Palaca.
more and more, they're called family bathrooms now,
Yeah, yeah,
too, so they're just, yeah,
yeah,
they're a little bigger and,
yeah.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
They usually have a urinal and a toilet in there. Now, let me ask you this, so, and Keith, you might be able to help with this too. I know a lot of times in the parks, the bathrooms, we have the doors on the bathrooms. You know how they'll have them where you can, without the doors?
where you walk in and, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I know what you're saying, yeah.
Is that more beneficial for something, or is that more cost effective than the ones like we build, where it's like a little building?
Couldn't keep you from sleeping in there though.
Yeah, it'd be cheaper. We wouldn't have to replace the doors and the locks all the time. But
Well, you know, over on St. Pete Beach, the bathrooms that they have over there, I mean, the only thing that they do different is instead of having everything to the ground, they have where you can actually go by and see feet. That's all you can see, but you can see feet, the
Right.
way that they build them. And so it'd be a real quick, run through if you're looking to see if anybody's in there or anything's going on. It shouldn't be going on, but that's another
Might be something that we could think about, and I mean, I don't know if that would deter people from sleeping in there, just because it's easy accessible, you can't lock the door.
Can't lock the door and can't sleep on the floor or
Yeah.
something like that. Just that much.
You know, I don't know, that's something for us to maybe consider, maybe even talking to the captain about that, because they'll be driving by there. That's just an issue, we've got people and they'll lock themselves in these bathrooms, and I know the locks, we've taken care of
We're
that.
looking at locking them again at night, deter that.
Well, you know, I just think one was kind of, right now we don't have a one vote party out there.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to look at the cost difference for a family,
Yeah,
single family.
and with that, you can always add on if we feel there's ever a need. You can add a second one on and do the male, female, you know, if we ever feel that there's a need.
Called, Chief, I'm pretty sure Chief, some of his personnel gonna have to go out there.
And clean it, yeah.
No, not only clean it out, probably be some other word in it, because they do that, they did Harry Banks out there. They tore it out a couple times.
So with this would leave us at the 23,822, and more kind of in a contingency, which is what we hope that we would have some sort of contingency in there, and probably more. I would think some of this, you know, especially if, and Keith with this North Lake, I know we keep beating this, you know, this North Lake Street Stormwater Project. I mean, based on the meeting that y'all had with Jason, do y'all feel that this is that this would take care of it, or should we just go ahead and accept the 120 and go with that?
That's what I got up there. the
Yeah,
120.
the 120, I know that that's a way that, if possible, that we could also save some more money in there. And then,
My suggestion is to see what we can come up with to make it a little cheaper.
okay,
I suggested doing the French drains from John Tatum's driveway to the last driveway. Richard said that's gonna cost more money. I don't see how, but him and Jason Shepler are dealing with that right now. And I was supposed to have the quotes today, but they're not here. And that's what I've been doing, is they've been wanting to know about it. If I got the quotes, and I said no.
okay. I wanna ask one other question. We have stormwater grades, and we've got some of our grades are in bad shape. So a replacement on a stormwater grade, have we looked at that as far as, I know we don't have our stormwater plan, but have we looked at replacing any of those stormwater grades? There's one of them especially that's over on 308, and I know it's on the county road, but it's on 308 and it's rusted out, and I just wonder, you know, from a safety standpoint.
That's the county.
So we need to.
308 is the county.
Okay, so they take care of their stormwater? I wish I'd known that, last week.
The last time it rusted out, Richard from BRC, Rick Large, he brought one from his place and replaced it
Okay,
for free.
we probably then need to reach out to the county, because one of them could be potentially dangerous. It's really rusted out. So the county takes care of those
Yes,
grades?
ma'am. Everything on 308.
Okay. Okay, then we need to reach out to them and maybe have them do an assessment of those, a couple of those grades.
So when we bring this to you for approval, the North Lake Street Stormwater Project, we'll have an option to less than the whole project to see if you want to do a solution that's a little bit cheaper and not quite the whole deal, or if you want to, we'll have the option to choose. Let's do the whole thing and get it done, or let's do this first part and see how it works.
Okay. Okay, and I'm glad to see that we're doing the gazebo, and that might come in less also.
Yeah, actually, the bid we got some time ago was about $7,000, so I put it at 10 in case, like everything else, it
Yeah.
went up.
Okay, commissioners, is there any more questions on this?
Okay, so we get,
Describe the sewer jet.
I got an idea, but I don't know.
Yeah,
We don't want pictures.
I can show you what it does.
No, not the picture.
It's mounted on a trailer. It has roughly a 500 gallon tank. It's got a high pressure pump for cleaning out the sewer lines. The tank is rusted out, the motor's shot. We do have a brand new pump for it, but there's no sense in putting it on it until we either decide if we're gonna buy a new one or rebuild that one, send it and get it rebuilt, put a new motor on it, and take that pump and let them put a new tank. The hose is fairly new, which is expensive. It does a good job when it's working. It's just,
With a pressure,
it's a 1990. We don't get rid of nothing.
No, but we Band-Aid a lot. We do Band-Aid a lot
And
and,
that costs.
you know, but,
But we need efficiently equipment to operate if we're gonna stay in business.
And see, it's kind of hard. It's not something that you use every day. And, you know, it sits around. Yeah, I would love to have a brand new one. You can find them probably for what the budget is, but it won't be as big as the one we have now. Just like I suggested to Charles on the truck, the dump truck. Instead of spending 65,000, let's find one with real low miles. Cause that truck's not gonna be used every day. Unless we hire an employee that we're looking at in the future budget. They might be driving it, but they won't be driving it home because there'd just be too much wear and tear on the truck unless they live locally.
and so again, that would be something that we would just give spending authority for.
Yeah,
Knowing that you,
not to exceed number.
not to
They
exceed
find a good
that,
deal.
and you can look for a good deal.
Yep.
Your pole barn's up, looks nice,
Thank
it's
you.
nice out there. So.
Currently, we borrow the county sewer jet, right? Is that?
They have done work for me about 2 or 3 months ago when we had that issue at the Chinese place.
You think we're better off rebuilding the old one we have or giving up on
Like I said, we've got a brand new pump for it. The pump was 13,000. Yeah. A new, one that size is probably over 100.
The size we have is over 100,000.
Yeah.
Who would
This,
be?
this 40 was the number you gave me.
Yeah, that was, the one like on a smaller trailer. If that's the only thing we could afford. I mean, it would have to work. We'd have to make do. But, and we might end up spending the whole 40 getting it rebuilt. But I don't know if they'll build a tank or put a poly tank on it. As of right now, it's got a metal tank and it's rusted out. The motor's a little old, 1997 Ford Ranger truck engine is what's on it. So I suggest go with maybe see if we can find a little small diesel motor that'll work. But I mean, we've even used it back when I first started, when we had the big tree grant. I pulled it every day to go water trees. So you can use it for that. You can use it for other stuff, but you can actually use it for pressure washing.
Do you think that budget could get us something usable, one way or another?
Yes, sir.
Obviously, in 1997, we bought some equipment.
Well, the machine's in 1990, but the motor was replaced in, 2000, about 2004. They bought a used motor and put on
Okay, I see some other big items, but now you said, the North Lake, okay, we got that. And I think we said for the 2 tanks that we really need that this time.
it. For the water tower,
Yeah.
yes, sir. That is, that would really help us out. The aerator is not in our, utility contract. Once they fix it, then it will be put into the contract. Instead of it pulling the sulfur out, they're gonna do forced air. Cause I've been here almost 18 years and we've already rebuilt it twice. And me or Jason can't get up top anymore to take it, cause you gotta take the whole thing off and rebuild it. So once they go to forced air, the sulfur's not gonna eat away at the frame and all that. And then they wanna put one on the 100,000 gallon tank to suck any excess gas out, which will be doing the same thing. It'll be a forced air. And they won't have to come in and, won't have to paint the tank as much on the inside. And then, like he said too, with the, sandblast in the water tower, it still does have lead paint on it, but they're gonna have to do a curtain over the whole thing. But he said, once they do that, the life of the tower will get better. It'll last a lot longer. And then, like he said, right now, you gotta paint it back that color every time. That's the only thing that'll stick to that. And once we sandblast it, he said we can paint it any color we want.
Well, I like Gotham.
Could be teal, right?
It's,
Mayor, I have a question.
Yeah.
So you said, the life of the water tower, what is the life expectancy at this point?
Well, that's why they keep coming in and sandblasting them and paint the inside to make them last.
Okay, but realistically,
I know years ago, they said that thing only had 10 more years, and that's been over that. But, you know, we put a new roof on it, years ago, and the guy actually said it's still in good shape. And he said this will actually help when they paint the outside, because it's due for a washout coming up shortly.
Our engineers are looking at the cost of the replacement.
Yeah.
In-ground, water tank. So we're looking at that, but that's gonna cost us.
Brand new's gonna cost money, sure.
I mean, yeah, we can prolong it a little bit, try and get a grant, try and get some stuff from the state. And if not, then we need to maybe look at getting it done. Now, they also said they can spread that over so many years in the contract. So.
So at 160?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good to know. Okay. Do we have any other questions of Keith?
no.
Okay. Do we have any other questions?
I
Thank you, Keith.
Yeah, I just have an observation, just to follow up on something that a member of the public brought up at one of our previous budget workshops. The Better Place Plan Fund, you know, is a county 1 cent surtax that's good for 15 years. So at some point, you know, we need to do our future planning. I think we've been asking for a list of the equipment and the life expectancy and the replacement cost. I looked at it a couple of weeks ago. The current Better Place Plan tax is good for either 6 to 9 more years. I don't know which. But we don't have any guarantee that the county will reenact it. We don't know what needs are gonna come up. So I think in our budgeting, we need to be very cognizant of this, and we need to start, having a future capital plan. This just really brings it out. We have a lot of very, very expensive equipment, and we need to know more than just at the end of the budget year or during an emergency when the stuff is gonna need to be replaced. So that's just an observation. And that, I know we've talked about this before.
And I have that list prepared. I haven't put the replacement column in there yet, but I have the insured value of the year
Okay.
and what the equipment is and so forth. I'll make that change.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, if not, I'm gonna open it up for public comment. Karen, if you have any, public comment, please come forward, state your name, your address, if you so please. And you have 3 minutes.
BJ Laurie, 505 Magnolia Avenue. A few questions that I have, guys. I love you, doing good work. You said the trencher, if we rented it, it'd be like, in the memo, it said like $1,300 a month. That works
Right, without the insurance.
without the insurance. Insurance is $3,000 a month, or $3,000 a year, sorry. And it's like, it's like $16,000 to rent it or something for a year.
Correct.
That seems like a heck of a lot easier. Plus, we don't have to worry about, if we're renting it, if it breaks or stuff like that, is it covered by the rental agreement?
Depends on what property broker how.
Okay, but at least we're protected from the fact that it's gonna lose value and it's going to be, I just think that $100,000 right now is a lot of money to spend on one piece of equipment. I know it's important, and I like that we need to have it for the emergencies, but I'm really thinking that a year leasing one is not really that bad of a deal. Plus, it's a heck of a lot cheaper, and you can just insure it. The other thing I was gonna ask about was what was it? I don't remember now. But, I agree though with Commissioner Vito, this money is supposed to be extra, it's supposed to be a bonus, it's supposed to be money that we're using to improve grants, money that we're using to enhance parks. I mean, that's what it was passed as when we all voted on it twice. It wasn't really intended to buy vehicles for, water utilities. I think we really need to consider in the future getting the budgets in such a position that the ratepayers are paying for that, not the city. And this is an extra 1 cent that the county gives us as part of our agreement. And then it's supposed to be on top of everything else. But if we're buying dump trucks, and no offense guys, but I know they need them, but, buying equipment for the utility customers is really not what it was intended for. But I just want you guys to keep that in mind. Oh, the other question, the changing over the aerating system, you're talking about doing forced air, is that gonna increase our operational costs?
Well, we already have an aerator tower on there, a fan on there now.
Okay, but it's a different kind of system, right?
Yeah, it pulls the sulfur up through it. This is gonna force air down.
That just
And
sounds-
then,
yeah,
it's gonna increase the electricity by a little bit.
Okay.
But not much, but it'll also save in the long run on the wear and tear of the tank and the aerator tower itself.
I just wanted to look at that, those operational changes, if you're changing systems, it's gonna cost more money or less money, just something to keep in mind.
It'll add a little bit, but probably not enough that we'll notice it.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, that was just.
Can I just say one thing, BJ? I had the same concern about, whether we should lease or buy. And I did all the figuring, and when they told me that these things can last, about 25 years, if we bought it for $100,000 over 25 years, it would have cost us, it would have cost us about 500,000 to rent, and only 100,000.
And that's what I just said.
So, yeah, that's why I decided not to.
In 5 years, we would have spent $100,000, and still needed 15 more years to go.
I just, instead of, finding out $100,000 right now, I'm just saying even a year, it could be.
And we are working towards the enterprise funds being self-supportive, but kind of where we are right now is this money allows for these kind of things to go forward.
Unfortunately, if they had done this in the past, and, but now, on this plan that we're on, hopefully it will make them solvent so that they can support themselves, but,
It's a gradual process.
something that needs to be done, but we are where we are right now.
Well, maybe one day, Mayor, Commission will be able to, each individual one will be able to take care of itself. But we got, outstanding loans.
Yeah.
And some of those are funds, so maybe when we knock them out,
Yes.
then they'll be able to, take care of themselves.
Well, hopefully with those increased fees too, that will help. I mean, I would much rather spend that money on something else than, that too good pickup truck, but, Do we have any other public comment? See, I'm gonna close public comment. And with that, do we want,
That's all we have. As I mentioned, the budget will just show equipment improvements, infrastructure, public building improvements. But I'll have footnotes which will itemize these individual projects.
Okay, so when you gonna bring this back for approval?
14 weeks from today.
Okay, so if we got everything down in cut and dry, or we made some suggestions, but I don't know whether we changed on the paper. So what we gonna do now, we gonna buy the trenches?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we going to the trucks.
We took out the playground equipment.
Yeah.
We took out the south tower,
So,
painting the water tower, $160,000.
okay, and,
Those are the only two things that came out.
okay, and we gonna check on that.
We're gonna check on that and see if we have at least $50,000 for that.
Okay.
This also includes that impact fee study.
I know that impact fee that we
We're
still
bringing
have
that to move forward.
Okay, well, I just wanted to be sure that we all on the same page, just people on different pages. If we're gonna approve it, so, see, I think that's where we waste a lot of good precious time. When we have these workshops, we don't iron them out. And then when we get ready to actually pass them, then we back there trying to iron them out. And we go on and on and on.
So I agree, so, thank you for bringing that up. So commissioners, are we pretty solid with this and telling Charles that, and Dale, as they finalize that budget, that this is where we need to be with it right now?
Yes.
Well, actually, no.
Okay, so what's your concern? Can we get it, I mean, I'd like to get it out here.
Yeah, well, before Commissioner Grant spoke, I was about to say, I am by no means sold on the fact that now is the time to do the impact fee study. And I am by no means sold on the fact that now is the time necessarily to do city hall renovations or any city-funded capital at Colbert Park, just because we are coming so close to the bone and we still have other expenditures that are out there. And we don't have the budget as a whole in front of us. We have the Better Place Plan budget and the CRA grants in front of us. So I think we need the whole thing, but, those are my reservations.
This covers Better Place, this covers the Better Place portion. So let me just mention this, and Charles has said this multiple times. This is assigning this money. All of this is going to have to come back to us, correct, Charles? Or for the most part,
For the most part, yeah, we
will
talked about
have
the
to come
vehicles.
back to us for a final approval. So it might be that we've got impact study in here, at least we've got it, the money sitting there, and if it comes back, we might decide, as a whole,
It's
that's
on the agenda for the 14th as well, as a separate item.
that's not the direction we want to go. But we've got that money.
Right, I understand that, but Commissioner Banks is concerned, and I understand the concern that, we make a list and then we still, it's not necessarily a list that we committed to.
Well, what I think, Commissioner Banks, correct me if I'm incorrect, but what I think he's concerned about is that we've gone through this workshop.
Right.
And then next Thursday, this is gonna be sitting in front of us again.
Right.
And we're gonna go through this whole discussion all over again. Is that what you were?
Yeah, and we waste a lot of time.
That's what I took, that was my takeaway from what he just said.
On certain things.
So, I mean, I just want to make it clear that there are some items on this agenda, to me, we've made space in the budget for them, but I'm not convinced that we should actually make the expenditure.
Well, does anyone else feel we should remove the impact fee study?
No. No, I think, because moving forward, when we're doing any type of, projects like down on Oak Street, okay, I mean, we have to evaluate whether we need that impact study, or we pay the bill out of our own pocket. I'm not sure how impact studies totally work, so I'm very interested.
But it's the first step.
Yeah,
To have that.
to have that conversation. And that's very important to understand how a lot of that stuff would pay us back.
Right, and that is my chief reservation about voting to do an impact fee study, is that we do not really understand how the dollars are going to work. And so I think having it on the agenda to approve, to put it out for bid is premature
No,
because
we wouldn't put it out for bid, we
we
did
need
that.
to know the numbers.
But in order to do.
Well, we've already put it out for bid.
To do an impact fee, you need to study first.
You have to.
You have to do that first.
No, that's not what I'm talking about.
But yes,
Well,
it is,
okay,
because
wait a
you want to
second.
pay for the impact study fee.
So what are you talking about?
No, what I'm talking about is knowing the dollars and cents. If we spend X amount of money, what are we had this partial discussion when we talked about, the cost of doing stormwater extension. That the impact fee studies, not the impact fee study, that having the impact fee wouldn't really create that much, wouldn't alleviate the expenditure burden for the stormwater extensions to a great degree. We've never really talked about the ins and outs. How much, if you charge an impact fee, what is that really gonna mean for your budget? That's what, to me, we need to talk about and have the understanding of. How does that affect our budget? How does it benefit us? And so basically a cost benefit analysis, both for the city and for the people who have to pay that fee.
And I don't know if they can do that without an actual study. But I do know that if we approve the impact fee study, we're in essence saying we're approving going basically to an impact fee.
Right.
Because
Well, we
we're
have
going to spend that money,
Then
we need to make it, we have a fiscal responsibility, with that.
Right, I'm saying, I think we need to have a better understanding of what the typical impact fee brings in, and we could look at any city that does it. I mean, I think that we have the sufficient expertise to look into that part, and then we can decide whether or not it's worth it to us and for the general public. But regardless, if we're approving space in the budget for these things, then I think that's fine. I'm just saying, I don't know that I'm going to vote for each and every one of them when it comes up.
That's fair.
But
That's fair.
can I say this real quick?
Yes.
Briefly? Impact fee, now, I'm gonna use an example. Okay, this new project that we put parallel with Oak Street.
Yes.
Now, basically, how much, that gonna wind up costing the city?
I think it's about approximately $400,000.
Okay, now, ain't no way that even if we charge, if they build houses all the way down that line, is we gonna be able to receive $400,000 back in the city coffers?
Correct.
Yeah, we never will be able to do that. But the impact fee does help offset
Some of that.
some of that.
Yeah.
That's why it's very important that we do a study, and then when we look at it, okay, if you look at the county kind of hesitant about doing that, because sometimes impact fee slows down growth.
They continued their moratorium this year.
Yes, they
Just continued.
to charge
their
growth.
Yeah, right, it kind of turns growth around.
But Palaca now has an impact fee, and we started one this year.
But they had to do a study.
And that's it.
Yeah, you got to do the study.
But I think in this area, they're expecting growth. And in order to grow, okay, especially for cities, because we're the ones that have the sewers, and we're the ones that have the
Right,
water,
right.
and all that kind of stuff. I think you need the impact fee to help support
Yeah,
those structures.
right, yeah. Because in a way the world now, I was told this, I don't know, that we probably could get about 8 houses on Oakwood.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now you split that up between the $450,000. You ain't gonna get that much money back, even if you charge them the impact fee, whatever the impact fee is.
Correct.
Unless you charge them a great amount, and then I ain't gonna bill.
Well, the idea, part of it is in all of the new growth, we wouldn't have to necessarily add as much, some areas in the RDB sewer line, they pay for their impact on the system.
Right,
So they're still paying even though we're not running a $400,000 sewer line.
right.
So over time, the fee is designed to alleviate the overall system cost.
Right, yeah. So it's just something that put in the back of our head to take on.
So I think Commissioner DeVito, that's where, that we go, if they implement this based on this workshop today,
Yeah.
then we don't rehash a lot of this on Thursday night when we're going through the budget. So are you comfortable, and that's where we are right now, are you comfortable with these figures, even though you don't support the projects, knowing that, we still have to vote, we have to vote on the impact fee?
Right, well, there's some of the projects I don't support, some of the projects I necessarily.
Yes or no?
Yeah, so, no, we've had adequate discussion.
Okay.
But, and it's my understanding that we have another item on the agenda as well.
Yeah. With that, I guess it was a discussion on the Dixie status. Is that what you, okay,
Right, for the all purchase, yes.
yes. Okay,
So, okay, well, obviously, there's a lot of concern in the community about this, and, I have a lot of concern about the effect on our city. We, discussed that.
Before you, what exactly are you talking about? Just make sure everybody understands you're talking about Winn-Dixie, I guess.
Well,
Yeah, you didn't.
it's the pharmacy, it's the pharmacy closing.
no, that's not what I'm talking about. So, we talked about this at the special emergency meeting that we had, before the storm. And, I brought up the fact that it's in the news that the Aldi company, a major, discount grocer, is apparently purchasing, I mean, nobody's written us a letter, this is what's in the news, that they're purchasing 400 Winn-Dixie and Arby's stores, including apparently our Winn-Dixie, and that the options are some of the Aldi stores, some of the purchase stores will be converted to Aldi's. Some of the purchase stores will stay some type of full-service grocery store. That will be evaluated, and the information we've heard is that the pharmacies will be closing and that their assets will be sold off. So actually, we don't really know that much. But any one of these scenarios is obviously going to affect the people and potentially commerce in Crescent City.
So it's my understanding that, as of right now, that this Winn-Dixie will probably, they're expecting it to stay the Winn-Dixie. Okay. However, the pharmacy, it appears from everything that's out there and the pharmacy will close. Will close. I've spoken to, Teo at Community Pharmacy, and she is, trying to gear up to get ready for this. It looks like this will probably happen in January. I've asked for, some contacts, and I'm waiting on those. Hopefully we'll have those by next Thursday.
What kind of
For all day, and Winn-Dixie. So that we could reach out to them. We're one small community that is being serviced by Winn-Dixie. I think in Lake Cross, Georgia, I think there might be one too, that Winn-Dixie is, they're so dependent there on that Winn-Dixie.
Yeah.
So, so I don't know really at this point that for us to have this discussion really until we have a little bit more information, maybe next Thursday. And, possibly asking, we could even ask them if they would do a press release maybe for the community,
Well, there's not a whole lot we're gonna be able to do about it. It's a business decision by all of us, and that's kind of the way it goes. From what I understand, they're, asking Walgreens and
CVS, they're selling off, it looks like to
Right.
Walgreens, Jacksonville, a Quarter Times Union had an article on it too, that they would be selling them off to Walgreens, CVS.
The other thing, I know myself, for all the different, drugs that I take, which isn't a lot, but I get them through the mail now. There's a lot of mail services that people can use and, yeah, it is what it is
Well, let me
Oh,
say
I'm
this.
sorry, I just need to respond to Commissioner Burton. A lot of communities do try to help themselves. That is what chambers of commerce are for, and lacking one, that's what our city government is for. This is a big corporation, but many communities communicate with large corporations, and they say what their needs are, and sometimes they get served. So, to me, there are several things that we need to think about. I think we need to have some kind of line of communication with the purchasing company. The mayor suggested at our special meeting that we consider writing them a letter of welcome to our community. I think that's a great idea. We need to have a line of communication. As well, I think we need to do some fact finding. I think it would be reasonable for us to survey the public and ask people what their concerns are, and particularly about the pharmacy. My concern is, certainly if we don't have a full-service drugstore with long hours, yes, some people can get their drugs by mail order, some people don't have that ability. I think there's potentially a loss of sales tax to us, and it's not just your prescription drugs. There are a lot of over-the-counter items that you buy in the pharmacy section that may no longer be available here. So aside from establishing lines of communications with Aldi, asking people what they see the impact of being on them and gathering that information, I think we need to start planning or talking about planning for contingencies, because some communities do make an effort to recruit businesses that they need. And that's something that we might want to think about.
And again, like I said, they're supposed to be getting me the contacts so that we can discuss this for next Thursday, who we would need to be reaching out to that would actually hear our voice and not just the consumer, helpline that you get.
Yes.
And so, and also, like I said, I've spoken to Taya at the community pharmacy, and she's looking at how she can extend her hours and how she can also better serve Crescent City, and not just Crescent City. This is something that is all of South Putnam. Exactly. Because we have a lot of people that, that utilize that. So she, that pharmacy, I
That's
know,
locally owned, right?
that's
That's locally owned.
yes, and that's good. But
There's also a pharmacy at Ozza Health. My doctor's there, and
you get your pharmacies there, there's a pharmacy down in Pearson.
There's a lot of
pharmacies.
I can just.
Right, but there's a little point that we're missing here. Again, there are things that you typically buy at a pharmacy that you're not gonna be able to buy at Ava Health. And the community pharmacy, unless they expand, are not going to have enough of that kind of merchandise. I mean, you can't
But
buy.
they may expand, since it's not gonna be offered by Winn-Dixie anymore. Before, they couldn't compete with Winn-Dixie.
Okay, but this is something that I'm sure that we are going to have to be talking about, because you have to think when people need a bottle of peroxide, a bottle of alcohol, a package of cotton balls. Not everybody is a Amazon Prime customer or has the ability to do that.
Dollar General, I buy a lot of that stuff at Dollar General.
Walmart, I go buy all that stuff.
I buy my aspirin.
So I'm just saying, this is the time for us to be talking about this, and I do think, that we should make an effort to do a survey of the general population here in Crescent City, and as well, the mayor mentioned the impact on all of South Putnam. I think it would be a good idea for us to be in touch with Cumberland Park and, Black as well.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Banks.
You know, now, I was in there and in Winn-Dixie this morning when I think some important people was in there discussing that. And it is gonna be a pharmacy in there. I don't know who gonna be the owner of it. But, that's what my ears heard.
Well, that would be a good thing.
Yeah, but it didn't say, and they did, I wasn't close enough to them to be that nosy to find out who gonna be in there, but they didn't name trees.
Was it CVS or Walgreens or, okay,
That those came up.
okay.
I don't know the third one.
I had that discussion yesterday there at Dixie, and that much like what
Let
Target does,
business take care of business.
Yeah.
That's, the government doesn't have to be in their business.
Target does this with, they rent that space, and so hopefully they would be looking at something of that.
Yeah,
Where
right.
you don't have a full-blown Walgreens, but their pharmacy is there, so hopefully that's something that they can look at.
But it would be,
Let them take care of their
yeah,
business.
it would be helpful though, just like the commissioner said, if we could get some information and maybe forward it on to some of our citizens, it would be very helpful. Let them know that we are thinking about them.
But maybe we could do that through their letter
Yeah.
that we
Yeah.
send out every
Yeah.
month. We don't have to bring it up at a meeting every
Right,
week.
no.
And ask them if they would just, if we welcome them, and ask them just to,
But it is
a
gonna
press release for your Leslie.
be, it is gonna stay Winn-Dixie.
Yeah.
I do.
I know that too.
Yeah, I do got that
I got that
information.
information.
And I know it's gonna be a pharmacy.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we have definite information, Commissioner Burton, you said you spoke to someone
Yeah,
about that?
I believe that I spoke to somebody and I trust their judgment and what they've told me, and yes, they will handle their business and just let them do that.
At this time, that's what was relayed to me, is that it will remain in Dixie. It will remain in Dixie. So, but then again, this is a big business and they're gonna study it and they're gonna make these decisions. It looks to me as if they had already made the decisions about the pharmacy before they ever, went forward with this. So, but I think,
We need to help our locally owned pharmacy to expand. We have an economic development.
That's right.
yeah,
I mean, and
and she has space, she did say that, she has,
maybe it's time to get them together.
she has space, she's very open to it, she wants to do all that she can, to support the community. Right now, she has a part-time pharmacist, and it could be that it might give him the opportunity to come and stay, full-time, to be full-time, plus herself. So, we'll just have to see, but Commissioner DeVito, I hope by next Thursday, and I did give them that time, that I would need something by Thursday, that, we could come back with at least some of that. That'd be,
And I just want to share with y'all, some communities have a position on staff that actually is called economic development. And this, I guess, was before the 2020 election, or no, it was after, that's right. When I brought up the idea that we fund a CRA manager position, one thought that I had was that it should be in part an economic development position. And with all the changes coming in the future, I think that's something that we should look at, is having economic development as part of the job description of somebody on our staff. because there's a lot to deal with, and a lot of municipalities have that position. Or to find out where we can get those kind of services.
Well, and the chamber has, Mark is with economic development, and I reached out to him as well. He was on vacation when I reached out to him last week, but he is also, he said he would, a community like ours will it support a CVS or a Walgreens, but I at least asked for contact for them as well. Possibly even a Rexall, a smaller drugstore type.
But I'm saying, we're sitting here talking about, we spend 20 minutes talking about bathrooms in one particular location. There are, as Commissioner Burton said, there's growth coming around us, and the issue of economic development is something that maybe needs more consistent monitoring.
I don't disagree with that.
Pardon?
I don't disagree with that.
Right, because, we can talk ad infinitum about painting this or putting plumbing there, but we have to think of the big picture and how we fit into it, and that economic development monitoring may benefit us. And planning. So I'm glad we had this discussion. I think it's important, and I think that we need to look at all the facets, and we need to encourage people to come talk to us and share their concerns.
It's funny how they all left.
Yeah,
We
as soon as
also-
you said that, share your concerns, they all left.
We also need, a workshop date for the land development code, the monthly, land development code review. Planning and zoning went through 2 chapters last month, they're easy, one's from the statute. So we need a date.
How much time do you need?
Probably a couple hours, could be a 2 to 4 or something, it's,
Well, let's see, next Wednesday, we're meeting at 3. Would we want to do it from 1 to 3?
What are we talking about?
land development code.
You can't do it then, okay.
I can't move from 1 to 3.
But Mayor, to me, I don't like the looks of next week, because that is our commission week, and that's the first reading of the budget.
Okay, so if we look at the next week, we've got the 8th. You're gone the whole week?
I am.
The
Okay.
21st is out, and
Yeah, I'm actually looking at the first week of October. Do we have anything available then?
As long as it ain't a Wednesday after 3.
could be the 5th.
Yeah, I'm free October 5th.
Yeah, right now I am.
Yes.
I start at 2 o'clock
No, 3,
on
On
the
Thursday, it's a Thursday,
The Thursday,
yeah, 3.
3 o'clock, okay,
I gotta do that.
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock.
AM or PM?
No.
And what is this for? This is for land.
Land development code review. We're getting near the end of that,
I mean, going around before 3.
And what chapters are those?
what was it, 9 and 10?
Yes, I believe.
Well, I mean, subject matter.
Concurrency and signs, which we just went through our sign code recently, so they went through it, planning and zoning went through it pretty quickly.
It occurs to me, I don't know what chapter this would be in or whether we addressed it, but given our stormwater issues, the lady, Xenia, I forget her last name, with the apartments on Lake near Central, and we have a $120,000 project. Some communities have landscaping requirements and other requirements to deal with, being on slopes and mitigating stormwater runoff.
We can't get minimum maintenance standards
Yeah, I was just
passed,
gonna say
and
that.
we want to get landscaping requirements passed.
That could be part of the minimum maintenance standards.
Well, it's separate from minimum maintenance standards, but it's important, and it could potentially save people money. I mean, look with what she's spending, and it will save us money.
Well, I think it is part of new development already. Our
Right.
challenge is existing development.
Well, our challenge is existing development and, just lot by lot, but I was down there, near where the Lake Street issue is, and it just dawned on me, we have nothing that other communities have that deal with preventing the flow of water straight down the hill. And so we could help ourselves. And I need to follow up with you about a conversation I had with the water management district, but I don't think they're gonna be any help at all. But I still need to tell you about the conversation I had. So anyway, so that's all I have.
That's it.
With that, we're done. Well, I'm just gonna adjourn, because we'll make a motion. This workshop is adjourned.
I don't want to adjourn.
So we'll see you.
Okay, nobody does.
You know,